Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Lawsplaining the Interwebs. I'm your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. How are you guys doing today? Man, my Stream Deck isn't working, which I can probably fix by resetting it, but it's just annoying. It's just one of those annoying things like, oh, here, have this cool thing that does stuff. And let me see if it works now. Nope. Good job, Stream Deck. I never knew you. Why? What? Why aren't you working? Where are you even plugged in? Anyway, I guess I'll just ignore using my Stream Deck and do everything manually. How annoying is that? Stooge, you're right. I did forget. How'd you know? Jeez, just a second. Damn it. Ha ha! You were exactly correct. I forgot. Stooge Muffin stuff. And thank you for Black Lagoon, even though it has the brand of the devil on it. Thank you very much. I'll have to go ahead and watch it at some point here. We'll see how that goes. But I do very much appreciate it. Thank you. I saw your harassing message, Meow Day. I saw. Hold on. I just got done taking a long walk. I'm tired. Just a minute. There we go. Okay. Have you been taking your fish oil pills? I hate fish oil pills. I actually don't take them. And yes, my door does need WD-40. Where's my whole desk got messed up yesterday when I spilled my drink. Okay, I have to calm down. Less gavel. Less gavel today. Oh man. So guys, you know, there's the world is happening. The world is happening and everything is let's see. Everything's going on with coronavirus and all sorts of stuff. So I was just going to talk about a couple things, I guess. I don't know. Where is it? I want to see this. I want this thing. Oh, I'm going to have to do it over again, aren't I? Okay. All right. Anyway. Sorry. I'm all mixed up here. I've got a new tool. I've got a new tool to play around with. A research tool that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. I've got some other things. I've been just monitoring what's popping up in the news feeds. And just gathering thoughts on that. I have something very important to start with. This is hugely important. Its importance actually cannot be overstated. This tweet right here. Just a minute. I'll pull it up for you. Gentlemen, I want you to consider this with all due consideration that is there. Here we go. That's it, right there. Dr. Bass says the most you should spend on a date is $200 minus the girl's weight. Oh, you want to be fat and gross? Okay, we'll see what we can do with $40. So there you go. That's an important thing to remember, I suppose. I get asked lots of questions about dating advice. In fact, someone sent me a very interesting question about dating advice. Oh, and I have a story to talk about with it. I have a story to tell with it. It is the same. It's in the same vein as the question. I won't go into what the person sent to me in email with too much specifics, but it was questions about online dating. Let me get this right out of the way. I have no idea what to do with online dating. I met and got engaged to Lady Rackets in person. There was no online dating. Online dating was a thing that people, Lady Rackets and I's parents' age did back when we were engaged and getting married. You know, we knew people who were in their 50s who were getting on like eHarmony, divorcees, stuff like that. That's what online dating was when I was anywhere near that market. So I don't have any advice at all. Can you do something about your notices or lack thereof for shows? I mean, I send out a tweet every, 2 hours before. I attempt to send out a tweet at least 2 hours before every show. And I try to make the actual live stream around 6 p.m. So around 5 hours before every show. I can't do anything. Let me tell you right now. Let me tell you about a lot. Let me tell you about things right now. I'm looking at Mr. Timmer say, it's a lie. It's not a lie. YouTube is in a great... I'm back in YouTube's bad graces. I go through this love cycle with YouTube, and I just got out of one where I was in a bad spot and things were going well, and then now I'm back in one. And I hate talking about this because it seems like whining. But if you're not getting notifications for videos, that's YouTube. Like, I know I did a video about Keemstar earlier today, and I mean, it's got nothing. Like, no engagement. I don't know who got notified. I would wager nobody did. It's the tracking on it has been off all day. So I did a video about Keemstar. I'm guessing you didn't get notified. For the most part, I've seen people again getting unsubscribed from the channel and stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't know how to remedy that on YouTube side. I can't do too much about that. However, I noticed the quartering did something very interesting. Just what? Like yesterday, he left Twitter, which was stunning and brave. No, I'm just kidding. No ill will. I'm just making a joke. But he did leave Twitter because Twitter is a garbage factory, and I agree. I agree in many ways. I'm not prepared to leave Twitter yet because I don't typically engage in like boycott or whatever behavior. I'll just gradually stop using something rather than making a statement about it. But that being said, when he left Twitter, he mentioned going to thequartering.com and signing up for notifications through there. So I tried it just to see like how effective it was. What are these sideburns doing? Oh my goodness. Just to see how effective it was. I tried it out and I clicked on the notifications, and then the man goes and makes 7 videos today. He makes 7 videos today, and I got a notification for every single one. And so I'm thinking maybe I should have a website where that will be a thing that's possible, where people can guarantee getting notifications through the website. And then it just sends them through Chrome or whatever. I don't know. But that way, there's like no missing live stream notifications for people who want them. For people who want them. And I think also it'll help with having multiple channels to make sure that notifications are going out, and people are seeing them across different websites. So I'm going to work on that. I think it's a good idea. Other people have done it, of course, for sure. But, I saw Hambly's model in action, and I liked the way it functioned. So I'm going to give it a shot. But yes, as far as like notifications, right now, I know many of you are getting notifications, and that's good. I know many people are not getting notifications. There's nothing I can do. YouTube doesn't tell me when this stuff happens. All I know is that when this stuff happens, my content gets suppressed on distribution, and subscribers do a downtick with every new video, and then they gradually tick back up. It's great. It's fun. It's part of the YouTube business. It makes absolutely no sense that they do their business this way, but that's what it is. So, but that's where that is. So if you're not getting notified, I mean, generally, basically every weekday at 11 p.m. Central Time. It's the same, 11:02 p.m. Central Time. It's the same time every day, and that's not changing in the foreseeable future. A thing I forgot to mention yesterday. Is that I'm looking to add a daytime show at least once a week, a daytime live show. And I'm hoping that the daytime live show will be, it'll be a little bit more focused towards, a lot of interviews during that daytime time slot would be the ideal. Because for some people, they just can't be up late during the day. So a daytime show, probably, I don't know what time, but maybe in the neighborhood of 6 o'clock, something like that. But it's going to be like one day a week. I'm not sure what day that will be, but I am looking to add that into the rotation so that people can see. There are lots of people who cannot watch the show at night. So I'm looking to do that. Plus, there are lots of guests who cannot come on for a nighttime show. So we'll see how that goes. What else is going on? Long story short, I'm trying to retool how this show works on several levels behind the scenes. And at the same time, I'm trying to have as little disruption in the expectation that current subscribers have while it happens. And navigating that is annoying out of its mind, and I'm working on it. So please bear with me. I am trying to do various things to improve experience while not completely wrecking the existing experience. Does that make sense? I hope so. And all of it takes time. And time is the one thing in life that I don't really have any of. So it's great. All right. The new tool I've got, back to the new tool I've got, is a new research tool. It's, I'm in a free trial on it. It's probably going to cost me a fortune, but that's okay. It'll be worth it for the show. And this new research tool is something that, it has several functions. It gives me information about specific judges on specific issues. It has judge and attorney analytics tools built into it. It actually has AI. It's Westlaw Edge, actually. It actually has like AI analysis of existing briefs, which is cool as hell. and it talks about, and we're going to look at one. We're going to look at some of the things from one in just a minute. And we're going to use Monica and Ron's fee brief that we went through to see some things that I didn't catch before. And that's what this software does, is you actually upload the brief, and it will go ahead and spit out a bunch of information about the brief itself in real time. So it's really cool. And I did a test run on the fee brief earlier today, and that turned back some interesting results. Like I said, stuff that I didn't catch the first time around. So I'm going to upload it because it does take a minute to actually upload the document and run the analysis on it. So I'm going to do that in the background, and I'll show you the kind of stuff that it grabs. That's not gonna be the whole show, and we're not gonna do a full analysis of the brief today because I have to learn more about the tools that it has and how to effectively use them. But then what I would like to do is to actually go back and do a quality analysis of some of the other briefs. Because like I said, just this quick look at it, just a quick look at what it did for this one showed things, like I said, things that I didn't notice because it takes a lot of time, several hours of time to go through and check each and every citation. And I'll tell you that the same people who are on Twitter saying, Nick, if you just did a little bit of research about something, first of all, yeah, piss off. I do lots of research about lots of things. But the same people who say that don't actually go in and check all the citations, or they're dishonest. One of those two. I will usually tell you guys if I do or don't check a citation, and I decided to check some on the cross appellant's reply brief on fees, if you remember right, and we found out that those citations appeared to be lacking. Well, there are some other citations that are not just lacking, they're deceptive. And so I wanted to show you how this tool will help me do that on other things. And someone said, my hooked nose smells a 2021 tax deduction. Yes, my existing Westlaw subscription is a tax deduction that I actually forgot to include, which I really shouldn't have forgotten that because it costs quite a bit already. And so I get to go in and amend my taxes. Although I filed an extension, so it doesn't really matter. But I do get to knock down some money on it with that. So that's nice. But it's an existing significant expense. But it's probably going to add some expense to this. But I think it'll be worth it. It also should give me more access to documents from states that are harder to get. We'll see. I haven't explored all of the features of it, but I believe it does give me an option to grab some of the documents from the databases. And if that's the case, it'll definitely be worth it because buying the documents from California, for example, costs a frickin' fortune. They're like $1 a page. And it caps out nowhere. One of the documents, I didn't buy it. For obvious reasons. The documents for Billy Mitchell's lawsuit, for example, to buy all of those would have cost $460, just to give you an idea of how expensive that can get at the state court level. For the federal documents, which I think is still too expensive, it's 10 cents a page up to 30 pages per document. So you end up with $3. $3 a document as the cap. But, one filing could have 10 different documents in it. So I'm hoping that the extra cost in Westlaw will mitigate costs elsewhere. But all of this is ridiculous, right? These are all public records. And this is something that lawyers have been struggling with for a while. We have a public, ostensibly transparent legal system, especially at the federal level. And yet, if you want access to that public repository of public documents, you have to pay per page, per time you access it. So like if you access it, for example, not this ever happened to me, but if you access the document and then hypothetically you accidentally close your browser or your computer restarts or there's a power outage while you have the tab open, but you didn't actually save that document, you have to buy it again. There's no like, oh, you bought this within the past day, you can have it back. No, that doesn't exist. So it's a big problem. Lots of lawyer advocates, yes, even we have lawyers, have been pushing for a long time to make access to these government documents free, because it should be. You pay for all of this already, right? You pay court fees. We pay filing fees. We pay taxes that pay for all of this stuff. We already pay this stuff. It's like when you go down to the county office to file your deed, to record the deed for your house after you buy it. And they're like, that'll be $45. You're like, don't I pay property taxes? Like this property, like I'm getting it now, but this property has existed for 150 years. What were the property taxes paying for if I have to pay to record a deed? That's just dumb. So anyway, I just hate this stupid petty charges that they throw in there. And, if you have to look stuff up, it can add up very quickly. Anyway, that's some ranting. That's what tonight's show is going to be about, by the way. A lot of it is going to be me complaining about stuff. So, sorry. That's how it's going to be. Me complaining about stuff. But it's okay because I have some whiskey to help me get through it. We are going to talk tonight about homeschooling pods. Not really homeschool. They're called pandemic pods. They mean different things. I tweeted about it earlier, but we're going to talk a little bit about this. And it's centered around this idea. Did Ron DM me this afternoon? No. Why would Ron DM me? Why is that a question? Did he say he did? I don't know. I mean, Ron did not DM me. That's as far as I've seen. I guess I could check real quick. But is that alleged to have occurred? No. No DMs from Ron. Like I said, I'm not sure what that's in reference to. Oh, God. I mean, I know it's bound to happen eventually because he's a weirdo. Yeah, if he DMs me. But no, he hasn't DM'd me yet. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. Ron talks to me directly when... of course, Ron has talked to me directly and I haven't addressed it very much. But in the YouTube comments on a couple videos, he has... But Ron talks to me directly when he feels he has something. Something has to trigger him specifically to talk to me. I don't know what it is. I don't know what sick thing possesses him in that way. But that's just what Ron does. And so I never know what exactly will set him off on it. But we'll see. We'll see. I think this Stan Dolan thing is absolutely hilarious. If you guys are not familiar with the drama between Ron and Stan Dolan, we've talked about it a couple times. Ron has accused Stan Dolan of owing Monica some money, specifically $700 for travel to one of his conventions that I believe happened in Hawaii, something like that. And as a receipt for the travel, Ron has produced an email of Monica asking for $700, like some sort of begging pauper. So that was the receipt that Stan somehow owes money. It was from 2015, and we're just all supposed to infer that that email asking for $700 meant that Monica was actually owed $700, and two, we're similarly supposed to infer that email asking for $700 means she wasn't subsequently paid for the $700 in the past 5 years. Considering I believe Monica went to Stan's shows after that, I would be shocked to find out that Stan didn't pay her. I might be wrong on whether or not she went to one of his shows after that, although I think she did, because I think he stopped like 2 years later. But either way, I would be very surprised to find any actual evidence that she was owed that $700 rather than just asking for it. And then I would be further shocked to find out that Stan didn't pay it. And Stan has alleged, of course, that she was paid. Or that he doesn't owe her the money. One of those two things. We'll take a look at it in a little bit. But anyway, yeah, it's just, it's a little embarrassing. I don't know. Like, you owe me $700 in the, at the same time, of course, Ron is breathlessly trying to assert, that he is the richest person on the planet, that he makes all of the money, that, you know, what if I have to pay for my actions, then I have to pay. You know, what's up? What's up? Put them on the table. I'll just make more money. Sure you will. Bitching about $700 from 5 years ago. Weird. Morty J says, thank you. Your watch party was fantastic last night. Found some inspiration to go back to the gym again, as I must become the tank in a zombie apocalypse. Cheers to you, Nick. Always love your content. Guys, we watched Train to Busan yesterday. Train to Busan is a Korean zombie movie. I had no idea it was a zombie movie. I just knew it was Korean. It was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic. Nothing, it was just entertainment. I was talking to Lady Rackets about this. Like, there was a little bit of subtlety going through the show, but most of it is just, it's zombies and it's people trying to live. There weren't like overt political messages. The zombies didn't represent like a letter in the LGBT community of oppression. There was nothing going on like that. Zombies were just zombies trying to eat people, and you've got a dad and his little girl, and the dad's just trying to keep all of them alive. That's it. And it's good stuff. It was bad because of the end. I did have a problem with the ending, but I liked, you know, I can forgive a movie for having one moment that pisses me off, and the rest of it entertained me. And it really did. Really did. So that was fun. Thank you, Morty J. Oh, excuse me. Fran Mataraki says, for times race tension-filled days like these, we need to call upon Disney to remake Song of the South with old Trudy from Canada as the main lead. They also need to rent out Uncle Tom's Cabin for more authenticity. Yep, that would go well. That would probably be fine. Nova Zero says, pay your fees, Nick. Tax is just theft. Don't worry about it. Yeah. I would happily pay fees for everything if there weren't taxes. But anyway. Oh. So what else? Yes, so we're very discombobulated today. We're talking about homeschool pods, these pandemic pods, as they're calling them, and the subject or the slant that's getting thrown out in the headlines. And the only reason I'm talking about them is because every day in my recommended stories, I get these things. This is a pushed narrative. These public education junkies are terrified of what happens if kids don't go back. They're terrified of what happens if kids don't go back to school. And a lot of kids are not going back. They're not going back at all. And so these people are afraid, very much afraid of the federal dollars that come into the school on a per student per day attendance basis. Mother effing stream. So hopefully the lag isn't getting to you guys, but they how do I word this? The revenue on a per school basis, drops dramatically. If you think about it this way, in a small community like mine, we homeschool, right? And one of the homeschool administrators, as much as a homeschool has an administrator, but one of the larger homeschool, we have these homeschool groups, and one of the people who runs those groups, I was talking to her today, and she's been homeschooling for something like, 15 years. Her kids are, I think, both graduated, or one is graduated this year. It doesn't really matter. But she's been homeschooling for about 15 years now. And so some people in the community have come to talk to her about homeschooling. And we've got, she has spoken to, in just the past week or two, about 20 families that want to pull their kids out of the school and start homeschooling as a result of the pandemic, right? They're like, well, what are we sending our kids to this school for? What are we getting out of it? They've seen the product of public education put into their homes. And this is the difference between every other time in history and now, is that what happens at school stays at school. For most parents, what happens at school stays at school. Like, your kid comes home, you're like, oh, what'd you do in school today? And they're like, we did nothing. Like, no, you didn't. You're there 8 hours. You did something. Like, you did some math and some reading or whatever. But the lie of that actually came home to people with virtual classrooms during the pandemic. Suddenly, these parents are like, wait, they just have you doing this garbage all day? I can't keep up with it, because, like, the parents are suddenly responsible for kids doing 8 hours of busy work. Well, that 8 hours of busy work is just daycare. That's what it was. It was just daycare. They needed to occupy kids, not educate them. Kids do not need and cannot take 8 hours of education in a day. They can take maybe 2 to 3 hours of education in a day. 8 hours is too much. 8 hours is too much for adults. Nobody wants to sit and spend 8 straight hours being educated on anything. It's horrifying. So they house kids for parents to work, and then they get these little mini revenue shops that are based on child's attendance. Why is truancy a thing? Like, honestly, think about how the school system functions. Truancy is this weird idea where the parent didn't send their child to the school for the required daily dose. So now the parent is criminally charged? For what? Like, you should never have to send your child to a government place. That's unless you're specifically charged with something and it's a term of your criminal charge or your, like, domestic charge to have to send you to have to go do a thing. Other than that, like, you should never have a truancy thing. It should never be, well, a child missed 20 days, so they have to fail the grade. Wait a minute. But what were their actual grades? How'd they progress in education? Doesn't matter. Child missed 20, well, I think it's like 22 or whatever. 22 days in a semester. How could they have gained all the they got A's. They got A's on everything. Yeah, but they missed 22 days. They've got to be held back. That's dumb. The reason they do this is it's just for whatchamacallit, it's just for the daily revenue that they get. And that daily revenue, if every student attends every day of school, it's different per school district. But out here, God, I think it's something like, it comes out to something like $6,000 a year per student. Okay? So, but that's only if they attend. And if they attend a certain amount of hours, which is why they have those half days of school where no one actually wants to be there, but they still have a half day because it gets over the federal school day requirement of 4.5 hours or something, and then they can send the kids home, and nobody ever accomplishes anything on those days. All of that goes just into this idea of recovering funds for schools. Well, if you think about it, if 100 kids from a school district or from a school, a particular school even, withdraw, and it's $6,000 a year, suddenly that school is down $600,000. And yeah, I'm from a small community. That's why I'm saying 6,000. But yeah, in bigger cities, it's much, much higher. Much higher. So if they lose $600,000 a year, that's like 6 teaching positions with benefits included. That's like 6 teaching positions worth of money. That's like 2 administrators worth of money. And yes, administrators are that ridiculous in the public school system. But what I'm saying is it's devastating. They do not run on margins that have padding here to afford this. So all of these kids going out of school, schools, the Department of Education, educators in general, they are frankly terrified of what is coming in the next fiscal year. And that's why I have been getting daily stories about the dangers of all of these different things. I got one the other day that said, don't take your kid out of homeschooling, or don't take a year off of work to homeschool your child. Please don't, for your own sake. Right. It's for your good that you shouldn't do this. And it was based on this idea of making a certain amount of money over the course of your career that you won't make if you take a year off to educate your kids or something like that. It's lunacy because it's erasing the intangible benefits, the non-economic benefits that some parents choose to engage in by staying home with their kids. And it goes back to the same push that Drexel's talked about it several times. Everybody with half a head on their shoulders who spends some time looking at this can see it. They want the family broken apart. Of course they do. Everything that's been done on a mass social scale in the past 50 years has been geared towards reducing the strength of the American family. And the American family's in real trouble, guys. It's in real fucking trouble because it's got wedges being driven in it. Family courts, how that's played out. That's, of course, what Drexel talks about all the time. Family courts, no-fault divorce. No-fault divorce isn't inherently a problem, but what the no-fault divorce has done with the combination of how the family courts treat disparately the two genders. Oh shit, I said 2 genders. Those 2 things combined, that has created a system that puts the family in friction because you've got a husband and a wife who are on the verge of competing for resources at any moment the second something in their relationship goes south. Before, when you had to have 4-cause divorce, when you had to stick with it, without, you couldn't just tell the state, we quit, we give up. The state's like, no, give us a reason, or else no, you're stuck. You're stuck sharing resources. You didn't have just this immediate opportunity to compete for resources. Imagine, there's little birds on my head. Imagine that, how do I analogize this? Oh, you can see it whenever 2 friends go into business together. Okay? two friends, they've got nothing, they start a business, you know, very minimal investment from each. It's just their skills and a couple dollars, right? They go and they put their time and their blood and their sweat into this business. Well, that business takes off. And then those little disagreements that they've had for a couple years, they're working together, you know, they had those disagreements, they work out. Suddenly that business is worth, say, $2 million. And now the amount of effort being put in by one person, they go, I'm putting more resources and energy into this. That $2 million bag of money is hanging over our heads. Suddenly you've got all the little things that they've been overlooking for years matter a whole lot, because there's a $2 million sack of money that's going to get split in some way. Now they're competing for resources. They've done that to the American family with husbands and wives, in which they've given them this opportunity where if anything goes wrong, you have a disagreement over finances, you have a disagreement over chili, beans or no beans, right? Above the waistband or through the fly pissing. It doesn't matter what it's about. Someone not doing the laundry. All of these little things are now ammunition in a competition for resources that didn't exist 60 years ago. 60 years ago, you had to have something like infidelity. You had to have something like a gambling addiction, a drug addiction, some sort of triggering event that put the other spouse at risk to lose resources that were shared and built. That was a different time. Now it's literally anything. And then you combine that with, we're going to be in competition over the kids. We're going to be in competition over the money, over the pets. And don't laugh about that, because behind money, kids, comes pets. Dogs specifically are the biggest thing. And it will, if you have no kids in a divorce, that's usually considered like an easy divorce. Like, okay, no kid in Minnesota anyway, because we don't do much spousal maintenance. So you're going to get divorced. Okay, you got no kids. Nobody's going to really fight over anything. You're going to just separate out the property that each of you had. We'll split the rest. 50-50, it's all good. Easy to do. You got a dog? Nope. That can shut everything down. A stupid freaking dog. They will be fighting over this thing. And all you want to do is grab them and shake them. So you're fighting over a dog. Just buy another dog. Get another dog. But anyway, no fault divorce. Everything they're doing. The push for LGBT, not rights. We're not talking about equal rights. I am all for equal rights. We're talking about prioritizing this agendaed approach to rights that goes beyond rights. It goes towards privileges or creating separate classes of people. It's geared at breaking up the family. The push on gender identity. Of course, it's driving a wedge between generations. And if we don't see this stuff and point it out and recognize it, we're dooming our society into abdicating all of our rights, responsibilities, and the benefits of our privileges to government or to non-government organizations that run everything. And so I've got some stories about that, not just in homeschooling. I've got one from Alaska that is kind of mind-blowing. Your tax dollars, should come back to you if you're homeschooling. Yeah, of course, they should. I mean, I pay for a school that doesn't get used by my kids. And I pay a lot because our school just went ahead and passed a huge referendum a couple years ago. So that was nice. Thanks, school. But Shattuck 1988 says it's usually about demoting men. It's about demoting men because why? Think about it. What is the man's role in the family? Traditionally, and I know, scary traditional gender roles. The man's role has always been in general, speaking in generalities before anyone jumps down my throat, to lead. That's it. Simple. Lead. What are we going to do? What are we going to do about this? Where are we going to live? Well, dad's going to have to get a job. Typically, this is how it was. And so, dad, where you lived depended on where dad worked. And if dad got transferred, family got transferred. Sorry, wife social groups. Sorry, kids school groups. Dad's got to work. Got to have food. Got to have a house. That stuff was dad. Frankly, religion, oftentimes, especially traditional values religions, like we're talking Catholics, Lutherans, stuff like that, they have always regarded the male as the spiritual leader or anchor of the household. And it's weird because a lot of times it is women kind of driving the practice, the spiritual practice of a household, but it's often men who are the spiritual leaders. And that's it. Yes, it's a patriarchal system. Yep. Okay. Now tell me why the system is somehow bad, and we can have a discussion about it. But sure, if you want to say it's patriarchal, sure. But we don't have to operate under assumption that a patriarchal or matriarchal system is inherently incorrect. We've dealt with these systems for very long times to lots of success. So to suggest that they're all bad is silly. But that's how it was. The man's job in the home was to lead it. The woman's job in the home was to maintain it and make sure it ran. And that's a fine symbiotic relationship. Why are they attacking the men? Because if they can turn the younger generation and if they can turn the partners against the leader, you dismantle the unit. But you're not going to turn the leader, the power holder, the stakeholder, however you want to look at men in a traditional marriage, you're not going to turn them against the other parties very easily. You're not going to just make a man start being mad about his wife having something. You have to give the wife some sort of power, disproportionate power advantage over the man to make him not trust her. And similarly with the wife, right? You have to dangle this promise of independence. You have to dangle this promise of social liberalization or liberalization, of some sort of societal empowerment. You have to dangle these false promises for women to take because they didn't take them. They were there. But you have to promise them that a career, for example, like this shift towards women working, at a full-time clip, that you had to convince an entire generation of women that was the appropriate thing to do. And then you had to subsequently convince an entire generation of men that the women should be contributing financially to the home. Why? Like, why is that a thing that should happen? Inherently, there's no benefit either way. There's no benefit to a woman not contributing financially to the home, and there's no benefit to a woman contributing financially to a home, or a man for that reason. Like, there's no objective truth to any of this. But if you want to dismantle the family, you get the mother and the father away from each other and away from the home as much as possible. Disconnect them from the children and send the children off to a nice little place where they can learn exactly what the government wants them to learn, or what political interest groups wants the government to teach and is willing to buy with votes. And that's the end of it. So I'm getting, frankly, a little tired of all of this stuff because I hate seeing the destruction of the family unit. I hate listening to Drexel talk about how bad marriage is and the condition of marriage. And like, I'm not mad at him. I'm mad that he makes points that merit listening to. That's the problem, right? Drexel should be 100% wrong about marriage. But he's not. He's not. I mean, I can look at my marriage and say that he's 100% wrong about how marriage is with my particular experience. But if we speak generally, if we look statistically, yeah, he's right about a lot. And it's a horrifying thing to see an institution that you care about and cherish destroyed and crumbling. So that's kind of the stuff we're talking about today. And I've got a couple different stories to talk about with it. But you know, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. All right. Let's catch up on these chats. We've got Felipe Move. He says, hey, Nick, that thing Ron is pushing with Dolan could be that they are trying to create some reason for him to lie about the hotel incident. Oh, could it be? It could be. But if it's $700, I don't think that Stan would be willing to lie in an affidavit over $700. But hey, if it's $700, breach of contract, gosh, I think that's Hawaii. Let's see. Hawaii statute limitations, civil. Let's see. Civil statute of limitations laws, Hawaii. Let's see. Contracts. 6 years. Well, that's simple, isn't it? If Ron and Monica, and it's both written and oral, this is a simple answer. If they believe that Stan Dolan owes them $700, civil suit, small claims court in Hawaii. They have 6 years. That was 5 years ago. No, I'm not. That was just a Google search. If they have a written contract or an oral contract, they're welcome to bring a cause of action. Something tells me they would have real issues actually going to court and backing up that claim. They wouldn't have to spend hardly any money. It's small claims. They'd probably pay a filing fee. In Minnesota, I don't know what Hawaii's is. In Minnesota, you want to bring a small claims action, $80. $80. Pay $80. You file your action. You go to court on it. It's right now, COVID season. There's no way they're going to hear them in person, so they could probably work out a virtual Zoom hearing on the issue. They bring their receipts, because Ron's got the receipts. He said 1 million times he's got the receipts. I got the receipts. I got the receipts. Just sue him. Actually, I don't know if Stan's in Hawaii anymore. I don't know where Stan lives, but you've got a claim, bring it. Why won't they? And I think, by the way, that breach of contract claims generally are 6-year statute of limitations across several states. But they won't do it. Of course they won't do it. Of course they won't do it. It would put to bed the accusation. Remember, these people, they did the same thing, right? For Vic. They threatened to sue Vic. They said Vic was getting investigated legally, whatever that means. They implied that criminal and civil actions were coming. They implied someone was going to come out and accuse Vic. Notice what never actually materialized. Why? The reason should be obvious. They've never had anything to back up their actual claims. They've never had it. Why is Ron resorting to these? Why is Ron resorting to these? I don't know. These specious. How do I phrase this? That's the I don't know. The specious reasoning attaching videos of Vic with people willingly getting hugs and being happy about it forever and to this day, and saying that it's creepy behavior when no one ever thought it was creepy. No one with a single shred of sanity, anyway, ever thought it was creepy. I mean, you have Pedo Montello, right? Out there saying it's creepy, while Pedo Montello is shoving her tongue down the mouth of what, a 15-year-old on stage at a convention? Well, she consented, though. Yeah, I mean, maybe she did. But you know, that's kind of way worse than a hug. It's kind of way worse than a hug. Okay, I'm ranting too much. Don't worry, there's more to come. We need some levity in here. Did you guys see? Okay, so there was... I can't show all of this. This is way off topic. And we're going to do a lot of things just kind of out of order tonight because it's funny. And my brain's kind of in that mood. But this is a great Twitter story happening. And this is related to the Portland protests. All right. I'll start calling them protests now. This is related to the Portland riots, and in particular, one peaceful protester who threw an improvised explosive device, or otherwise known as IEDs, the thing that the terrorists use to kill troops in, in sand countries, throwing an IED at a federal courthouse, right? That's no longer a peaceful protest. That's a riot. And you can't just say it's a peaceful protest and it's just one guy. It's just one person. That wasn't a peaceful protester. That was a bad person. It's like, wait a minute. Everybody around's cheering. Everyone around is cheering. They're all happy about this. This isn't isolated incidents. Let's take a look at this. And I will try and... I may have to go back and blur this, but I'll be careful. Because there's some nudity in it. And I don't want to have too much nudity happen. Okay, so the guy who threw an IED at the Portland courthouse was identified in a review by his grandma who bought his gear. This might be the most embarrassing defeat of Antifa yet. Grandma's little revolutionary. Retweet for lulz. Here it is. Grandma F. Fast shipping, great vest. I got this for my grandson who's a protester downtown. He uses it every night and says it does the job. She posts a picture of him. Here's my little rioter. So then, here he is, right? Like, that's him. He's got the vest. He's got his mask on, thank goodness. We wouldn't want him koofing on anybody. This is him meeting with people and receiving orders. I don't really care. I don't know what he's doing. They're doing some stuff, right? This is him committing a bomb attack on the federal courthouse. Okay, so we'll watch this one. Okay, he just threw it. Let's go back. Oh, shoot. I'll get the volume up so I can hear and you guys can hear. We'll get the volume up for you. All right. Now he's right down here. You'll see a little spark fly, and then we'll show him in just a sec. He'll be more visible in just a second. But you'll see it, and then you'll see the explosion. Okay, so it happens right away. There it was. There's the toss. That's him in the vest at the bottom right. Boom! So don't worry, that's just like an M80 or whatever, right? That's just like an M80. So he's behind the man in the mask, and you see him, he'll traverse across the lower portion of the screen. You'll see his pastiness with the vest as he goes to the bottom right corner after throwing. So let's watch it again. So here's the throw, and then he's gonna back up into the bottom right corner there. Boom! Yeah! There he is dancing around. So you saw that. Of course, here he is. Look how excited he is, springing around like Tigger or whatever. Tops are made of the rubber. The bottoms are made of the springs. He's bouncing around there. That's him. And then I encourage you to go look at this thread. I have to skip this next part because it's got bare female breasts on it. So I'm going to skip the next tweet. I encourage you to look at it not because it's bare female breasts and a completely naked chick. That is not the reason. It's to watch him continually sneaking glances at the woman he is shielding. He's got his little shield out, but he's constantly looking at her tits. It's so funny. Oh, he just did an ass grab. Cancel him. Oh my God. You gotta cancel him. But here is that was an unsolicited ass grab. Again, you'll have to see it for yourself. I can't show it. But trigger warning, there is a nude buttock. A nude buttocks in this tweet right here. But I have to give it for the name he got from 4chan. So, high-res rear shot of Sympathy McVeigh. Sorry. Sympathy McVeigh. Damn it. Oh, I'll link it in the chat. I'll link the whole thread in the chat for you. Oh God. So there you go. There's a link to the thread. Feel free to the mods if you could go ahead and share that link a couple times so people can see it. They call him Sympathy McVeigh. That's a chick, by the way. The butt is a chick in the footage. That is not, or in the picture. That is not a guy butt. Kind of like a rectangle shaped woman. Not really. That's not like a shapely chick, but that's a female. You can see when she turns around, and you can see her breasts or whatever. It's in the video up above. So anyway, they've got more analysis of who it is, lots of pictures of them and stuff like that. But Sympathy McVeigh, that absolutely slayed me. It absolutely slayed me. It was hilarious. Whew. Okay. Sorry, I just needed that. I needed that cool off for a minute. Okay. Bro Tato says, in 4th year of high school, I spent an entire class playing video games, an entire class sleeping, and still left school an hour early every day because of a free class. I still graduated. How much more of school was a waste? Almost all of it. Almost all of it is the answer. I remember when I was in school, my senior year, I was just walking around. Like, I was barely ever in a class. And I had an excuse. I had an excuse to be out of those classes. I wasn't skipping them. I just didn't have anything to do. So, and one of my this is the year 2000. I had a Walkman. I had a Discman in my pocket, in one pocket. And then I was walking around with a cherry Coke back before schools got rid of sugar in the vending machines. So I'm sitting there listening to Offspring or Stone Temple Pilots or Bob Marley, just walking around school, drinking cherry Coke, never being in class. And one of my teachers comes up to me and says, "Why are you even here? I never have ever seen you in a classroom. You're always just walking around drinking pop," because it's Minnesota. They said pop like a weirdo. But I was like, I don't know. I don't have anything to do. I don't even have class. I didn't even have a class scheduled. I was at a high school with no classroom to go to. So weird. Let's see. James Spoon says, the way you are describing schools is reminiscent to private prisons. X amount of cash for each student/inmate. That's saying something for sure. It's not just private prisons. it's also public prisons. And interestingly, the Supreme Court regards schools in the same way it regards prisons as far as Fourth Amendment rights goes, and also First Amendment rights. So that's exciting. That's a fun thing. That comparison is not lost on the Supreme Court of the United States. By the way, Roberts, get fucked. Chief Justice Roberts can eat all of the dicks in the world. This guy needs to go. He needs to go. I was reading an article today. I'll probably pull it up. Except it's from the New York Times, which sucks. Let's see if I've got it. I'll just pull it up. Here we go. Or no, it's from... Oh, thank God. This is from National Review. National Review. Let's take a peek. Mother effing Stream Deck. Seriously, where are you plugged in? You plugged in here? Hold on. Hopefully resetting the Stream Deck will help. Is this working? No! What? Probably need to reboot my computer. All right, here's the headline. Conservative justices declined to take up Second Amendment case after Roberts signaled he would side with the liberals. Report. Listen. I am not generally about conservative justice versus liberal justice. I'm really not. I think if you look at justices, there are judicial schools of thought underpinning their perspectives. And I haven't talked about this in a long time, but I have talked about it before. It may have been a year. So many of you may not have heard me talk about this. But a good example was a justice like Anthony Kennedy. Anthony Kennedy was often considered a swing vote between conservatives and liberals. And part of the reason they considered that is because Anthony Kennedy wrote some very controversial opinions that went both ways. Kind of like Roberts might go both ways. Also, he rules both ways. But anyway, but when you looked at Anthony Kennedy and you started looking into his judicial position or judicial perspective, you could actually kind of figure out where he was going to go if you just took the weaker party. And I mean the party with the least amount of apparent power in a particular situation. So, when Obamacare goes to the Supreme Court, right? Everyone's expecting Anthony Kennedy to be the swing vote. Turns out the swing vote was Roberts. Why isn't Kennedy the swing vote on Obamacare? Simple. The two parties in the case are the individual and the state. Kennedy looks at that and he goes, why should the state win here? And put the individual who is already far overpowered by the state. Why should the state get access to force a person to buy a product? That is against the judicial perspective of Anthony Kennedy. That one massively powerful party would be able to force an individually weak party to do something like that without significant justification. Just goes against what he was. But if you look at another ruling, it looks like a very liberal ruling. And this one is, I believe, Hamdan. There's Hamdi and there's Hamdan, and I'm going to mix them up. I'm sorry. But it's the ruling that was baffling to so many people. And it said that it's versus Rumsfeld or whatever. And it said that foreign enemy combatants caught on foreign soil were entitled to habeas corpus in American civil courts, not in a military tribunal. Okay? So this gave access for a terrorist, like we'll say an Afghanistan terrorist picked up in Yemen, right? Brought to Guantanamo Bay. They can get a habeas petition in civil court rather than in a military tribunal. This is very, very different from if you're an American citizen who's picked up as an enemy combatant. And that is a different case. Padilla. Padilla, I believe, is the case that determined this. Now, there's a whole bunch of differences about when, in respect to 9/11, these cases took place that go into it. But Kennedy penned that decision, the same decision. But again, if you look at it, what weaker party is there? What weaker party is there than a foreign national in an American military prison? Like, and a habeas, to be very clear about what a habeas corpus petition is just saying, do they have the right to hold me? That's it. So a habeas petition just says, hey, I think I'm being held improperly, and I just want a lawyer to go ahead and argue that I should be let go, that I'm being held improperly. And that's something that you or I, we get like as a matter of course, as long as we're not enemy combatants, right? But the question is, do they get access to an American civil court, or do they have to use a military tribunal? And Kennedy wrote that they get access to the civil courts. They get all the powers that would be afforded to anyone under the jurisdiction of the Constitution. And the reasoning is they were brought under the jurisdiction of the Constitution by being arrested and extradited back to an American military prison. Now, the American, again, 2 years earlier in Padilla, I think Omar Padilla was his name, he was held in a military brig as well. Not in Guantanamo, but he was in a military brig, I think in Virginia. Again, it's been like 7 years since I really looked into these cases, so I apologize for the fuzzy facts, but it's enough to tell the story. But again, if you're looking, Kennedy didn't pen the opinion in Padilla, but he did pen the opinion in Hamdan or Hamdi or whichever one it was. And that's a pretty, again, when you look at how he writes it, he very much writes it as a clash of power between two parties. So Kennedy often was regarded as a swing justice in that respect. Justice Roberts does not have a judicial perspective that works in that way. I think Justice Roberts' judicial perspective is the most egregiously terrible one. I believe it is the judicial perspective of malegacy. Malegacy. And that's why Roberts was the swing vote on Obamacare. That's why Roberts has been a swing vote in favor of abortion. That's why Roberts has been a swing vote against Second Amendment. And it is the most terrible thing in the world, because when Roberts is rendering his decisions, he is asking, how will history look at my decisions? Not, what does the Constitution fucking say? So let's take a look at this this very spicy thing. I've got to move. Some of you haven't seen this. I had to get this. This has been at my other house for a while now, because I still haven't moved everything out of it. But this is a statue of me. Here, I'll pull it up on the big screen. This is a statue of me that Lydia made a long time ago. We've got the scales of justice. We've got a whiskey bottle in hand. We've got a racket there for rackets, and he's standing on a book that says Rekieta on it. So I went and got it from the old house the other day. It's hard to transport. It's kind of fragile. But it's also in the way of me reading the article, so I'll put it on the shelf. So anyway, It's fantastic. Let's take a look at this thing real quick. So there he is. Showing up. Who cares? So the conservative wing of the Supreme Court reportedly declined to take up a case dealing with Second Amendment rights after Chief Justice John Roberts indicated that he would vote with the court's liberal justices. The Supreme Court hasn't taken a Second Amendment case now in 10 years. In 10 years, the Supreme Court has not taken a Second Amendment case. That includes Newtown, Connecticut happening, right? Newtown, a massive push for a return of things like assault weapon bans.Ve got ridiculous requirements on like bullet stamping happening in California. We've got fixed magazine requirements in California, magazine restrictions going on all over the country. All of this happening in the past decade. We've got 3D printed guns. Supreme Court hasn't taken up any case in regards to what a 3D printed gun, what it even means. They won't do it. 10 years. Think about this. Like, abortion is widely considered to be relatively settled law since 1963. Okay? Or 70, no, sorry, I got that wrong. 72. Roe v. Wade, I think, was Supreme Court 72. And they still take an abortion case almost every year, if not once every 2 years. Fourth Amendment cases, every year. First Amendment cases, 50, 60 a year, it seems. Commerce Clause cases, tons of times a year. Second Amendment, won't take them. In June, the justices rejected petitions from 10 challenges. 10 relating to state restrictions on firearms after Roberts signaled he would not vote with them, depriving the court's conservatives of the fifth vote needed to overturn gun regulations, CNN reported Monday. In December, shall not be infringed. Shall not be infringed. It's the same as saying Congress shall make no law. It shall not be infringed. So here's the thing. Congress shall make no law. That's the First Amendment, right? Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion, minimizing speech, all of those things. Now, of course, Congress makes lots of laws doing those things. And to get to work with that, the Supreme Court has developed levels of scrutiny. Rational basis, intermediate scrutiny, and then strict scrutiny being the three main levels of scrutiny that they apply to these tests. Fundamental rights, facial abuses of fundamental rights typically get strict scrutiny, right? If you say you can't talk about race relations, that's a strict scrutiny thing. Why is the government able to do this? Do you know what level of scrutiny they apply to the Second Amendment? Now, again, First Amendment, strict scrutiny. Fourth Amendment, strict scrutiny. Third Amendment, probably strict scrutiny. They don't really have many Third Amendment cases. Fifth Amendment, strict scrutiny. Sixth Amendment, strict scrutiny. You know what they apply to the Second Amendment? What level of scrutiny? Neither does the court. They've never actually picked. And for some reason, it's a question, which it should be strict scrutiny. It's an enumerated right. These are facial challenges to it. Everything should be reviewed under strict scrutiny. But Scalia suggested that maybe intermediate scrutiny would be appropriate in DC versus Heller. What the hell? Strict scrutiny. shall not be infringed. So therefore, if you're going to infringe it, it better be a compelling government purpose and narrowly tailored to achieve said government purpose without infringing on other fundamental rights or without sweeping up other lawful activity into its wings. That's it. It should be strict scrutiny. And the Supreme Court won't even take a case to determine what level of scrutiny it was. By the way, the 2008 case, you know the case before that? The big Second Amendment case before DC versus Heller was US v. Miller in 1939. The Supreme Court will not take up a freaking case on guns. They won't take it. In December, the court heard a challenge to a New York City handgun regulation, but ultimately determined that the challenge was made irrelevant when the New York City law involved was altered. It wasn't. The New York City law wasn't altered. Their proposed enforcement of it was altered. The case revolved around whether licensed handgun owners may take a locked and unloaded handgun to locations outside the city, such as second homes or upstate firing ranges. Justices returned the relevant portions of the challenge back to a lower court. They had a law in New York that said you couldn't take a locked and unloaded handgun outside of New York City. You could not go anywhere else with it. You could only go to 5 predetermined gun ranges in the city limits. And the Supreme Court's like, what's this? And they only did that, they said it was irrelevant because once the Supreme Court petition was filed, then, and only then, did New York City officials change how they said they were going to enforce it. Oh, we're not going to stop people from transporting it to their own home. How do we know? How do we know that? So now it has to go back down. Then it has to potentially have, this is a 6-year-long case already. It's already a 6-year-long case. They just remanded it down to lower courts. I think it's 6. Maybe it's 4. It's a ridiculous amount of time. They just remanded it to lower courts. So now it'll be years again. Because they're not going to actually change the enforcement on it. The 4 most reliably conservative justices were not confident that they would get a 5th vote from Roberts on the case or similar cases addressing the Second Amendment, according to unidentified sources cited by CNN. Justice Brett Kavanaugh penned an unsigned opinion that was overseen by Roberts for that case, in which 6 justices agreed that the case should be relegated to the lower court. In a separate statement that Kavanaugh signed, he said that the Supreme Court should address soon the issue of varying interpretations of Second Amendment. Soon? They should have addressed it for the past several years. Roberts became a frequent deciding vote on the Supreme Court after Justice Anthony Kennedy retired in 2018. Since then, the Chief Justice has voted frequently with the court's 4 liberal justices and most recently cast the decisive vote last month to block the Trump administration from ending the Obama-era Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, which prevents immigrants who are brought to the U.S. illegally as children from being deported. And how on earth can the court rule that an executive order cannot be undone by the current executive? Again, the mind-blowing mental gymnastics that accompanies this Supreme Court position is beyond me. So if you don't know the issue, Obama created a program by executive order. Trump tried to end the program by executive order, which is, by the way, how you end a program that's created by an executive order. And this isn't the first time this has happened with this court and with this president. But Trump says, I am going to issue a new executive order that says the federal government, the executive branch, the branch I am the fucking king of, I am the boss, I run the show. All executive power is vested in a president of the United States. The executive power is vested in Donald Trump. He wants to end an executive program, and the Supreme Court said no. What? Like, they shouldn't be able to do this. And I'm pretty sure Trump just said that they're not going to do it anyway. What is this? Oh, that's the end of it. So, weird ending. Weird ending to the report. That should have been a middle piece and then transitioned into some other bigger thing. But who am I? I'm not a National Review writer. But anyway, that's this thing pissed me off. Oh, I'm not even showing it. God damn it. It doesn't matter. I just read it to you. I just read it to you. I forgot my Stream Deck isn't working, so I press the button. Wasn't it something about the process he went about it was wrong, but that was about it? Like, sure. The process should be he issues an order and closes the program, and that's it. That should be the ruling. Because the executive should be able to end an executive order without input from any justice, from any state, anyone else. That's why they're executive orders. Executive orders can't be binding on the next executive. That would be legislation. That would be a law that is created, not an order that's issued by an executive. Executive orders must be able to be rescinded at a moment's notice, or else they are in effect law. And we have a different process for creating law. Because guess what? Obama can't create a federal immigration program. He doesn't have the authority to do so. Congress has the authority to create an immigration and naturalization process. It's in Article 1, Section 8, I believe, of the Constitution. If it's not in Section 8, it's in Section 9. Congress creates laws about immigration and naturalization. That's how it works. That's who has the inherent authority on it. So Obama can't just create a program that determines how naturalization and immigration works. They can create an enforcement program and protocol to comply with the laws that Congress creates. That's different. Obama can say, I'm not going to deport people. He can do that. As the executive, he was able to do something like that. Sure, I'm not going to deport people. I don't want to enforce that law in that way. The executive has the authority to do that. And we want an executive to do that too. We always want the government to have the option to enforce laws less. Because that's respecting the rights of the people under the jurisdiction of the Constitution. No matter what, when the state is not infringing on your rights, we always want the ability to do that. And that is a politically solved problem, right? If you want more enforcement of laws, you either get, you elect a new president. I mean, that's how that goes. And we did that. We elected a law and order president by the name of Donald Trump. It was one of his selling points. And not only that, he was a law and order president on immigration. And then when he tries to do it, when he tries to enforce the laws that are written, the Supreme Court has stymied his ability to do so every single step of the way. They've interfered with the political process that creates the executive power. The one that we all get to participate in, that all of these rioting yuppies in the streets are complaining about equal representation, one voice, one vote, even though we don't actually have that system. They're all talking about democracy. All of these people want democracy until that democracy comes in with a smug Trump smirk, right? They all want it until that happens. Until their vote is weighed out, then they want to have a tantrum and they want to run to the courts on political questions. And it's a shame that the court is doing this. I'm a little worked out. I'm pissed off about this stuff tonight. Sorry. Mad8 says, I'm homeschooling my son. He's going into high school. My wife makes more than me, so I get to be the house husband. That's a great place to be, by the way. No shame in that. Again, traditional gender roles are not inherently good or bad. They just are. They're just a thing. The reason I say that we shouldn't slam traditional gender roles or traditional anything roles is because We have gotten to where we are based on this system. And we are at a better place, generally speaking, for the individual than at any time in human history. And there's something to be said about getting to the pinnacle of humanity. We have more individual power than ever before. And we've gotten here based on these things that we're now trying to turn around, destroy, and deride as evil. It's like, well, they can't be all bad. They got you the ability to fight against them. Anyway, Mega says, I attend a school that has attendance via clocking in and out. I got all the certifications in the program, but I'm being forced to go back in the fall to finish hours that I didn't get due to COVID. Else I have to pay $400 to the school. Jesus, why do you have to pay $400 to school? Secularis says, if you dismantle the household, you dismantle the incentive structure that makes men step up and be men. Yes. Exactly. And then you're left with a docile populace that are uneducated about their rights and uneducated about their heritage. Sakaki Onsai says, I think Wu Flu has given the perfect way for parents to get back at the workplace and the schools. Now that a lot of businesses are moving to work from home, it means that proximity is no longer an issue. That means money, 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 hashtag FTP. Yeah, because if you can work from, say, Florida, Texas, does Iowa have an income tax? Anywhere without a state income tax. Get that California money, but working from, rural Texas. Whew. Damn. Can make a fortune. Can avoid all that taxation and the cost of living. All you need is access to a plane, once a month, fly in for a meeting. Funk Malfunction says men have a few purposes. That function was protecting the group and showing the boys how to be strong, thick-skinned, well-adjusted adults, and girls need their mother. The girls need their mother more. I have 7 brothers, 3 sisters. It works. Yeah, but I think it's also about teaching the girls that they can have a thick skin too. I think that's something else. It's also about raising women worth protecting. Like, because there's all this, there's this traditional idea that men are supposed to protect women. I'm sorry. Sorry, ladies. You need to be worth protecting. You need to be worth it. And some women out there are garbage. Why should they get protection? I keep laughing. I keep seeing all these things about women. Women. Look at how the Fed officers are treating women. Well, who cares that they're women? Who cares that they're women? Like, if we're concerned about how the federal officers are treating anybody, I'm on board. I'm with you. Like, oh, Fed officers shouldn't treat anybody in a particular way. Yeah, absolutely. But you're going to come whining at me that they're treating women poorly? I'm sorry. If they billy club a man, billy club the woman. If they're tear gassing a wall of little 17-year-old Antifa boys, tear gas their moms as well. I don't want anybody tear gassed at all. To be clear, I don't want anybody accosted or in physical altercations with the feds. Now, they may be prompting those physical altercations on their own. I'm willing to entertain that. I'm not saying that all physical contact is bad or unwarranted, but I'm just saying, don't make it men versus women. Oh, look at how they're treating women. So they're equal, right? Why should they be protected? Why do they get special treatment? So if it's a bunch of women marching on the courthouse and they light it on fire, the cops can't do anything? If a bunch of women are throwing explosives, the cops can't touch them? Is that where we are? Where we can just get we can just get females to Allahu Akbar, whatever we want. Like, that's how they go. They get 72 virgin men to make fun of in the afterlife. I don't know what this is anymore. I don't know why there's a disconnect here. I don't know where this equal society suddenly decided to be unequal. We need the good stuff. We need the good stuff. Got this Lagavulin 12. Oh my gosh. Ask the 2 questions. What are the 2 questions? Who's your daddy and what does he do? Those are the 2 questions? I hope so. Justin Watkins says, do you think we will come back from all this far left insanity? Because it seems like Pandora has been let out of the box, as in people are seeing mob violence works. Second, what chances do you give Trump of winning re-election? Do we come back? I don't know. Usually politics, left-right dynamics works in a pendulum. It was swinging right already with Trump. And I think what we're seeing is a heavy, heavy pushback on that pendulum. And I think that leads into your next question. What chances do you give Trump of winning re-election? High. I give him high chances. What's polling? Let's see what polling data says right now. Trump v. Biden polls. Real Clear Politics has, let's see. Oh, they've got Biden +9 on Real Clear Politics right now. So there you go. That's the Real Clear Politics average. Biden +9. Now that's CBS has Biden +10. Harvard Harris has Biden +10. Rasmussen has Biden +2. The Hill has Biden +7. Fox has Biden +8. ABC and CNBC and Quinnipiac. ABC and CNBC Biden +10. Quinnipiac has Biden +15. So yeah, I think actually I'm going to go ahead and say with some that it gives me even more confidence. Trump's going to win. Trump's going to win. What's the so the sample sizes. Let me give you the sample sizes on those respectively, starting with CBS. 1,400 people, 1,900 people, 2,500 people, 2,800 people, 1,100 people, 670 people, 1,258 people, and 1,273 people. That's the sample size. So that's how they're determining those Bidens +10. There's a whole bunch of other polls on here. A couple of them have Trump plus, plus a few. A couple of them have, these are the dates. These are the dates. Those are the most recent ones, all taking place in July at some point. Here's my thing, guys. If Biden's not +50 with the economy where it is right now, I don't think Biden's got a chance. I really don't. And I say +50 both hyperbolically and seriously. If you think about what economy we're in under Trump right now, you ignore the boom economy of the past 3 years with record low unemployment, record growth on S&P, record growth on the Dow, just absolutely phenomenal economics going into 2020. And then, of course, we have coronavirus hit, and everybody forgets, and they should. Here's the thing. Everybody should forget how good the economy was, because how good the economy was doesn't help you pay the bills today. Right? Like, you're not getting a bill paid if the economy was good in 2018, but you don't have a job in 2020. So a lot of people forget that. And the fact that there is right now a massive amount of unemployment, there's a massive amount of underpaid workers, there's a massive amount of people out of work, the school system's in shambles, people are being required by their governments to do unpopular things like being forced to wear particular articles of clothing or personal protection equipment, as it were. They're being forced to do all this. And Biden's only at plus 10, plus 9, plus 2. Yeah, I'm not holding out a lot of confidence that he's going to turn that around to win. I just don't think he will. I think there's a lot of people who won't tell the polling agencies that they're actually going to vote for Trump. I think they're getting a lot of abstentions. I know I don't answer. When I get a polling place, I just hang up. I don't care. I don't need the poll. If he announces Kamala Harris, he loses immediately. What about debates? Oh God, I can't wait. More Trump-Biden debates. As many as possible. Do 100 debates. Do 200 debates. Do 1,000. Man, by the time that third debate rolls around, Biden is going to be begging to never do a debate again. It's going to be the funniest thing. The funniest thing on the planet. We'll probably, think about this, guys. We'll probably watch Biden defecate himself on stage. We may watch Biden turn around and just walk off in the middle of the debate. Oh, corn pop. We could have one of the funniest debates in history televised, happening now. There's not enough ginseng or ginkgo biloba in the world to save Biden from his Alzheimer's on stage. It'll be masterful. I can't wait. And the way Trump talks is inherently confusing to people who are how do I say this? Not normal. Trump talks to normal people, and normal people are like, yeah, I get this guy. Makes sense. If you're like an ivory tower elitist guy, Trump talks, you're confused by what he's saying all the time. You're like, what is he even saying? Your sentence structure doesn't make sense. Imagine that in a debate with Biden. Biden can't follow a preschool book right now. It'll be fantastic. I pin Trump as high chance at winning a re-election. Especially if they can manage to wrangle the media on coronavirus a little bit. There's no way, by the way. Coronavirus is going through November. Fuck you. No matter what you want, no matter what reality is, coronavirus is going through November. You cannot stop it. We could have a cure for coronavirus tomorrow and 0 cases from tomorrow through November, and coronavirus will still go through November, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's the only thing. It's the only thing. Oh, Notre Dame pussied out on the debate? Of course they did. I mean, how much danger could you have with Biden, Trump, and one moderator? That's it? Like, that's all you need, right? You don't need the audience or whatever. There's no questions from the audience. Biden, Trump, moderator. Put him in a plastic cage. Social distance the hell out of him. Do it. They don't want these debates. They don't want them at all. They will get absolutely annihilated. Nobody. No, I think Clinton was impeached during his first term. Wasn't he? I don't remember. I could be wrong on that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm not trusting the polls. I don't think there's any reason to trust the polls. I mean, guys, they had Biden, Real Clear Politics here had Biden +5 in February. They've... In November of last year, they had Biden plus 9. You're going to tell me in February, prior to coronavirus shutting down the country, they had Biden at plus 5 over Trump? Not a chance. Not a chance. Anyway. And if Kanye runs, Trump wins immediately. I hope he runs. That'll be the funniest thing. And if they start polling, like if Kanye officially runs, I will poll that I'm voting for Kanye. 100%. Kanye will not steal votes from Trump in the way he will steal votes from Biden. Trust me. Maybe I need to talk to Razorfist. We need to have an election discussion about the effect of Kanye on Trump. That would be a great show. I'm sending it to Razorfist. I want to know what his opinion is, because Razor's got an education and an eye on the election that I don't have. I would love to hear his input on it. But I think if Ye runs, I think Trump wins, hands down. Bald Eagle 1787 says, I see Roberts leaving the court if RBG dies / retires, and the liberal justice that plans on retiring if Trump wins. That'll be 2 more constitutional-based justices, rendering Roberts' legacy pointless and pissing him off. Maybe. We can only hope that Ruth Bader Ginsburg retires and admits she's been dead for years before Trump goes out of office. Whenever that is. Whether it's in 1 year or 4 years. Kov says, I wish no harm on any person, so if Ruth Bader Ginsburg could step down before any one of the 9 cancers get to her, for the sake of my Second Amendment rights, that would be nice. F for Ginsburg to step down in Minecraft if you agree. If she steps down, we just get to find out that she was actually dead. And her reanimated corpse was just a Facebook algorithm. Craig Labar says, I've been saying the DACA decision by SCOTUS was one of the most horrifying decisions, effectively making the president able to create laws. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, damn. Sprite Cola says, don't forget to include the vest buying grandmas in equal treatment. Could you imagine? Grandma's like, oh, I bought little Jimmy his vest so he could go out and LARP with the big boys. That's great. How embarrassing is that? Grandma, I want to protest. Can you buy me some gear so I can go down and be tactical? Like, and then she buys it. And the feds, ma'am, open up. Who is it? It's the feds, bitch. Open the door. Little Jimmy's in trouble. God, do it. Do it. There's a loud neck crack. Yeah. I'm getting a pulsing headache right here. And I think I've got some neck tension going on. It's great. Anyway, next chat. An awful lot of ocelots says, check out the documentary Century of Self. It outlines how Freud's nephew took wartime propaganda into the business world and called it public relations. He got women to start smoking by calling cigarettes the torches of freedom. Fantastic. What a massive piece of shit that guy is. And then Felipe Move says, look at that naked chick that was teasing the feds to shoot her with the rubber bullets. All women are now saints. The senile man won't win, by the way. Yeah. Oh, God, guys, my neck hurts. Does anybody have Derek Chauvin's phone number? Oh, goodness gracious. I feel like an old Buick. Like how you forgot about your tool showing over an hour ago. Thank you for reminding me. I completely got off topic on that. We'll get back to it in just a second. I wanted to see if there was any other news story I wanted to talk about beforehand. Oh, this one. This is the... Look at this. This goes into what I was talking about earlier. Prison phone numbers on Google. Oh, yeah. I just contact him that way. So here we go. Let's pull this one up for you guys. I'll remember to do it this time. Must read Alaska. Assembly to look at limiting First Amendment rights of therapists and clients. That's a salacious headline, right? That's a salacious headline. Look at this guy. And here's this weird clip art they have going on here. It's probably a stock photo. This guy should sue over this stock photo. Here's why. Anchorage could ban some forms of therapy for gay clients. On Tuesday, the Anchorage Assembly will take up an ordinance that would prohibit counselors and therapists from helping young clients who are struggling with unwanted homosexual thoughts, gender dysphoria, or other gender identity or sexual variations. Think of what they're doing. They're legislating medicine. They didn't say these are clients who are struggling with these things. So you're like a kid or whatever, you're young man, and you look at Brad Pitt all oiled up in Troy, and you're like, damn, I want to see his sword play, if you know what I mean. And so you're like, whoa, wait a minute, no, I want Briseis. Give me that Briseis booty. I'm not into Brad Pitt. I need Briseis. So you run to your therapist and you're like, dear God, I can't get the shimmering pecs of Brad Pitt out of my head. I'm trying to think of Briseis biddies, and all I'm getting are Brad Pitt man titties. That's all I've got. Please help me. Electroshock therapy, call Mike Pence, whatever it takes. Get me off of this gay train. I need help. You go in, you're like, I don't want this. I like the ladies, but my thoughts are just polluted right now. And they're like, nope, can't help you. You're gay. Sorry, but I don't want to be gay. I like the Brillo pad, not the Washington Monument. And I'm like, nope, sorry. Here's a guide on widening your throat and permitting your gag reflex, and that's the pamphlet we have for you. Too bad for you. What are they doing? Like, I'm not saying that every single I don't treat homosexuality as a mental illness. I don't care, right? But if someone wants to have therapy for something that they feel is incorrect about them, I don't care. I don't care if a guy's like, no, I really want to be gay and I need a therapist to help me love pee-pee. Like, go in and do it. Of course you should be able to do that. Of course you should be able to do that. If you're like, I'm a Democrat, I must be mentally deranged, fix me. If you're like, oh my God, I'm a Republican, I hate all women, fix me. Like, well, it doesn't matter what it is. You shouldn't ever limit counselors' ability to counsel. That's like telling doctors, well, you can't treat broken arms though. Not with a splint. You can't treat broken arms with a splint. What you have to do is let the person know that the break is their new reality. Offered by 3 gay members of the Anchorage Assembly, the ordinance would mandate that if a minor wants counseling for unwanted sexual urges or expressions, therapists would have to end the counseling session and show their client the door. All right, Billy, what's going on today? Well, I'm not doing well in school. I'm really having trouble. I've got problems with, my friend relationships. My parents are going through some tough things. And what I really can't stop thinking about is erect penis. Get out. Like, that's the answer. Get out. Get out. Get out, you gay. That's what they should do. That's the approach to this. It is obviously discriminatory against gays. What the hell is even this happen? What is this? What is this law? God damn it. Oh, I don't even care about the rest of it. I'm not even gonna go through it right now. It's too stupid. Get out, you gay! All right, let's bring up the tool. Extend session. Extend the session. All right, so here we go. I'll just show you guys what this looks like and why it's really confusing and why I need more training on it to actually like use it for meaningful analysis, and why we're just doing a little bit today on the bits that I can definitely talk about, okay? I'll just show you what the tool looks like. This is Lawyer Tools. And this thing is pretty cool. So what I did while we were waiting, I uploaded the fee reply brief. I uploaded the fee reply brief into the system, and it analyzed it. Okay, so one thing it does is it shows the authorities below were cited in your opponent's brief, but have been criticized by other courts for some points, which may indicate weakness or suggest potential counter-arguments. So it goes through every citation, and it determines if there's been a subsequent ruling either overturning or limiting that citation. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to overturn or limit the ruling on the issue that you're citing the case for. Okay? So, this is pretty cool, though. So, Propel Financial Services, this has an overruling risk. LLC for Propel Funding National 1 LLC versus Perez. So there's an overruling risk of Rormu's venture. A case you cited has potentially been negatively impacted by events or decisions in other litigation or proceedings. And so here it gives you a summary of this and how it differs from Rormu's. Rormu's, of course, is frequently cited by the opposing party, right? By Moron's lawyers. So it just tells you the comparison. And now, I would need to spend time looking at the comparison to determine if it's relevant in this case. Now, Rormu's is the overruling thing. Now, they cite Rormu's, so presumably it's probably not in conflict with what they've done, but it gives you an idea that there's a risk, right? And then it lets you review it. I haven't done that on this part, and this is just one aspect of the tool, but I would need to spend more time on this, and I intend to spend some time on their citations and really dig into them. I think it's interesting. So it gives you that, and then here it has any of the decline to extend. So these are limiting decisions where it's like, okay, they've quoted Sullivan v. Abraham, and this extension, or this was declined to extend in Texas Health Presbyterian Hospital. So there you read their citation and you see if that difference is consistent with your suit or not. So it goes through all of these different things. Pretty neat that it does that, but we're not gonna go through that right now. This one is the one that caught me right away. This is super useful at a very high level, because what this does is it takes quotations from cases and then it shows you what the actual quotation says. And it's got the context on either side of it for both things. That is an amazing, amazing tool. So here we have the differences are highlighted. Reverse a denial. So appellate courts will reverse a denial or minimization of attorney's fees and render judgment ... in the amount proved. Reverse a denial or minimization of attorney's fees and render judgment for attorney's fees in the amount proved. Okay, so that's not a big ... right? That is an acceptable change because they're just reducing the word count by 3 or 2 or whatever, depending on how the word count works on ellipses. But 3 words. So they save 3 words by eliminating a redundant thing. Very cool. But this ultimately isn't helpful. But now you know the context. You can read the context back and forth and see if their quote is otherwise relevant. So next we've got quotation, this difference. I pointed this one out. I pointed this one out with the missing 18.001, but it turns out they left out for a service as well. So to challenge the reasonableness of the amount charged after a proper ... affidavit has been filed, the opponent must file and serve a controverting affidavit. So here they are taking out for a service and 18.001. They forgot to add an ellipses after charged, taking out the for a service thing, but they have the 1801. So we talked about this one. We talked about this difference being, this 18.001. Why would they omit that? And it's probably because the 18.001 ruling in McGibney was about an evidentiary admissions rule more than anything. And that's what the court says. This is about the admissibility of the affidavit, not that the affidavit is actual conclusive and sole proof of anything and that there are no other factors. 18.001 doesn't state that. It states that it's admissible under this rule. So that's where the court went with that. And this was a bad citation. And they're trying to avoid, in my opinion, the references to 18.001. Why they left out for a service? Probably just a typo. In all honesty, they just missed it. Meant to have an ellipses here, and that doesn't critically change it. So this one is, again, nothing important. They added trial court, and here it just has the regular court. It's not really that important. They're just showing that the trial court is relevant in this case. And it was a trial court in McGibney versus Rauhauser as well. This one changes but only to ... This is weird that they took out the but only. They also have some typos. But anyway, ultimately not a big deal. There is a bad one coming up, though. There's a bad one coming up, and I want to point it out. This one is bad. There's actually two bad ones coming up. This one is bad. They left off through ... this entire thing, which might not be a problem, right? Except I think it is. Let's see. So the base lodestar figure is presumed to represent reasonable and necessary attorney's fees, but other considerations may justify an enhancement or reduction to the base lodestar. ... Now what they left off was accordingly, the fact finder must then determine whether evidence of those considerations overcomes the presumption and necessitates an adjustment to reach a reasonable fee. Now, why do you think they would leave off that last part? I'll tell you. Because it suggests that the judge can, even absent anything else, use discretion and determine if other considerations override the base lodestar. The judge has discretion to go against the base lodestar. And they know. They know this. That's why they left it out. I would suggest that that is a little bit of a dishonest omission. Let's look at the next one. The identity of expert witnesses must be disclosed no less than 30 days before trial. And then they say prior to the beginning of trial. This is a subtle change. It's not as bad. But this is playing into their narrative that the TCPA is a trial. Now, I don't believe the TCPA is actually a trial under Tarrant County jurisprudence. I don't remember the citation, but as I dig into these, I'll be looking it up and pointing that out. But before trial, it works better language-wise with the implication that the TCPA hearing is a trial for the purposes of their rule that they want on excluding the second amended petition. Prior to the beginning of trial is a little bit different. Yeah, anyway. And again, this is about the fee hearing, which is even more. They're saying the fee hearing is a trial, and the expert witnesses must be disclosed no less than 30 days before trial. Hey, you want to know a fun fact? Fun factoid. they had, I believe, exactly 30 days from the order to submit their documents for the fee trial, or 30 days for the hearing, if I remember right. I'd have to look up the exact timeline, but if I remember right, that they had the 30, they wouldn't have been able to do it. That's kind of my point here. But here we go. This is not important. I'm going to skip this one. This one was really bad. This one's really, really bad. Okay? Excuse me. Here's the quote. Oh my goodness. Sorry, the liquor hiccups. The tasks and roles of counsel on opposite sides of a case vary fundamentally. So even in the same case, the legal services rendered to different parties are not fairly characterized as similar. Now look at where they go on to say, Rial and Toye faced a more complex fact pattern than Markey or Funimation. Okay, well that, yeah, sure, comparing different parties. But here's the original quote. The tasks and roles of counsel on opposite sides of a case vary fundamentally. So even in the same case, the legal services rendered to opposing parties are not fairly characterized as similar. Opposing is very different than different. Okay? Because opposing sides, plaintiff and defendant, vary fundamentally. So plaintiff and defendant have, you can't characterize their fact patterns as similar. That does not say that defendants versus defendants can't be characterized as similar. It says plaintiffs versus defendants, and they changed that. They had no reason to change it to different. It says opposing. It's the same word count. They didn't do it. And they also ended the sentence when the sentence doesn't actually end there. They put a period where there's a semicolon. And a single law firm's fees and hourly rates do not determine the customary range of fees in a given locality for similar services. However, when a party uses its own hours and rates as yardsticks by which to assess the reasonableness of those sought by the requesting party, blah, blah, blah. So, and this is actually what they did. This is actually what they did. They used their own hours and rates as yardsticks. So this is relevant. This is actually relevant to the case, and they left it out. This is weird. This is a quotation. Was cross-examined by the appellant's attorney. Appellants offered no evidence that the attorney's fees were unreasonable. After reviewing the record, we hold that the award of attorney's fees was not unreasonable. That's the same quote. I don't know what happened there. Okay, so these have differences. Oh, they're just saying that these are the same. That there's no difference here. Okay. Sorry. Again, I'm getting used to this tool. So these all are verbatim, whatchamacallit, references from them. And then these, it wasn't able to check for various reasons. I don't know why. They might not be, oh, this is from the, these are from the record. So obviously they can't check a citation to the record from a quote. So that's why those aren't in there. But anyway, so pretty neat tool that we've got here. And I'll be using it to go through some of their documents. Again, I just got this today. What is omitted authority? This is things that they could have potentially added based on the key sites that they're grabbing from the cases that they didn't add in. So what an attorney would do in this situation for... if I'm litigating the case, I would go through these 54 cases and see why they omitted these, try and determine why they omitted these citations. So it just tells you other authority that is similar with key sites to this. So then you go through and you look and it's like, okay, this is about attorney's fees under TCPA for abuse of discretion. So then you check the citation, you say, okay, was this, and it relates to these cases, how does it relate? So I would be using these tools to determine whether or not they should have included this citation, because maybe this citation says something different and they intentionally omitted it. So there's that. So like this one, they left out Toledo versus Kbmt operating company, and here's the holding. The Court of Appeals, Hollis Horton judge held that record did not support attorney fee award of $256,689. So the record in defendants damn it. Hold on, I accidentally clicked on a thing. Let's get back to that. Record in physician's defamation action against television station and 3 of its employees, which was dismissed pursuant to the TCPA, did not support the trial court's award of $256,689 in prevailing party attorney fees to the defendants under the TCPA, where evidence did not show hours billed by defendant's law firm were reasonable. Trial court failed to reduce or eliminate any items from law firm's invoice that were identified as reflecting duplicative, excessive, or inadequately documented work, and evidence failed to establish the amount at stake in the dispute. So, of course, this is a very unfavorable ruling to Lemons, right? Because that's essentially what Chup said. Chup said there's duplicative work, there's extra work, there's frivolous work going on here, and we're going to reduce your fees accordingly. And in this case, the trial court didn't do that, so the appeals court said, bad trial court, and slapped him back down. So were you constructing a brief to go against the reply brief, you would then use this tool to take a look at this case and suggest, maybe I want to include this in my citation, and point to how appellate courts are usually a check on rubber stamping trial court fee awards. For example, hypothetically, you might do that. And then you've got trial court abuses discretion in denying contractor's motion for sanctions. Imposition of discovery sanctions was not an abuse of discretion. Here's this one. So this is by subsection. So this is argument and authorities. This is from this section. There's some cases. Insureds were entitled to attorney's fees. Court of Appeals attorney's fee award to the landlord was of this much was unreasonable. Anyway, it goes by section. Like I said, a pretty slick tool. Where you can go through, and it just gives attorneys a lot more power to go ahead and look into actual documents itself. So here's a table of authorities that they have, and this is what was provided by the document, and it picked them out. So you can also check and make sure the thing didn't miss any of these things, and you can go to each of those cases. So it's a handy reference tool, right? Like this is from the document, it grabbed it and found these things. So now you can go to each of those cases and just read them, or read the relevant sections. So long story short, I'm excited about this thing and what it can do. There is a judge. Let's see if I can find this. Litigation analytics. View insight on judges. Search for judges. John Chup. Now, what the person told me is that this is a federal, more appropriate for federal judges to see how they rule, rather than state. But it depends on the particular judge and the particular court. So I'll show you what Chup's got here. So Chup has here are his appeals. He's got 85 dockets. He's got this many positive appeals, this many mixed outcome, this many negative, and this many other. And then you can click and you can see all of his appeals. So we've got all the different things. Here's his mandamus writs. So torts and negligence, real property, employment, labor, criminal justice, business org, commercial law, constitutional law. So this would be tort and negligence. Let's click on it. Let's explore this together. I don't even know what this tool is. So here, see all motions. Show more. So motion for summary judgment, compel discovery, motion to dismiss. I believe we would find these under motion to dismiss. Motion in limine. Limine, that's a motion to suppress evidence in a case. Temporary restraining orders, injunctions, compel arbitration. So if we go to, let's see if it's under motion for dismiss. The court withdrew the motion to dismiss. Let's see. I wonder if we can easily find TCPAs. I will suggest, again, that I've never seen a TCPA appealed by Judge Chupp. Oh, I wonder if we can find Vic. Search within results. Mignogna. Related filings and orders. Search. We'll see what this does. Funimation, maybe? Let's see if we can find Beard. No, Attorney Paul Beard. Oh, here we go. Mignogna versus 7-Eleven. That's not it. Okay, so maybe it's not. Let's see if it's in motions for summary judgment. Where do we go? I want to go back. Oh, here we go. Get rid of that. So we've got motion for summary judgment. No, this doesn't have Mignogna. So it might not have his case even reported yet. It might not even have his case reported yet. But case type. I'll have to go through and look through more of this and see if we have a way to sort by defamation or TCPA. I don't know. But I'm going to suggest, I don't think Judge Chupp has ever done a TCPA. Ask the creator of this website to sponsor you. Yeah, Westlaw, will you sponsor me while I call a bunch of fat women cunts and stuff? That'll be great. It'll be perfect. So anyway, so again, I have to get to a little bit more information from Chupp, or about Chupp. But average time to rule, 144 days. Come on, Chupp. Anyway, but yeah, so there's different stuff in here. Let me go back to John Chupp. So they only have 85 of his appeals. I can't imagine they'd all be in torts and negligence. So here's one thing to look at, right? Like, here's Chupp's stats on torts and negligence. 55% of the time he's affirmed. 9% of the time it's affirmed in part and reversed in part. And then he's been reversed 36% of the time. Now that's 6, 1, and 4. Chup is batting almost 50% with the appeals courts on torts. So, again, I don't think analytics are useful on their face statistically in determining this, but a lot of people are wanting information. A lot of people are wanting information about Vic's chances on appeal. And this is some information about it. You can see that his worst stuff is torts and negligence and then employment and labor, which is kind of funny because that's where both of the you've got vicarious liability and you've got defamation and tortious interference. So there you go. Those are his two worst areas of law. Good job, Judge Chup. Great work. And again, I don't know. Like, I have no idea if we have... I have no idea, like, what these cases are. I don't know what the going rate on judges is or anything like that. But it's pretty... It is pretty interesting, right? So here's his employment labor. It's going to be less cases. 3, 1, and 3. So he's actually batting worse than 50% on employment labor issues than he is on torts and negligence. But yeah. So here you've got the different thing. Well, of course we wouldn't know what the stats are on Vic's case. It hasn't been affirmed or denied yet. That's why we couldn't find it. Let's do this. Let's do TCPA in related filings and cases. Let's see what pops up here. Look at this. Can you guys see this? So your search resulted in 0 results. Please adjust your search terms and try it again. So no cases that Chup has had appealed have had TCPA as an acronym. Texas Citizens Participation Act. I probably should have put that in quotes. Because it's going to grab all those things. Hold on. Search. 0 results. I will reiterate. Let's do Participation Act just on its own. I am very confident that Judge Chup has never ever seen a TCPA case. I don't know how it's possible that he has never actually seen a TCPA case. But it seems to be he's never had one appealed. But the TCPA is one of the most appeal-prone statutes, especially in Texas, because it's so devastating to lose on a TCPA case. Right? Like that should be obvious to people. Losing on a TCPA is devastating for either party. They get appealed almost automatically. Can you search for cases not appealed for Chup? I don't know. I don't know what other litigation analytics there are for Judge Chup. They don't have the more detailed analytics. I'm guessing there's more info on federal judges. Oh, let's check this one. Let's check Lee Yakel. Wait, Yakel? Yakel? Shoot. Here he is. I just can't pronounce it. Yakel. So yeah, we have much more. This is the judge in Meyer versus Wade's case, right? We have much more information about his rulings because he's a federal judge and the federal systems comply at a much higher rate. So here we've got motion to dismiss, summary judgment. So these are his ruling tendencies. Granted. Motion to dismiss. Granted 48% of the time. Motion for summary judgment, 49% of the time. Motion in limine, 15% of the time. So you can see this. So top filed motions by the plaintiff. Speed, how long does he take to rule on stuff? Here you go. You get some information. Experience. I don't know what this looks like. But we can see the difference just in data that's transmitted to Westlaw. So mostly he's got criminal cases, prisoner rights, civil rights, contracts, intellectual property. And look at the number of dockets, 3,500 criminal cases. That's a shitload of stuff. But it tells you a little bit about it. So contracts, right? This matters for you, boy, Zach. We've got about 1,250 contract cases that he's dealt with. Torts and negligence as well. 500 of those cases that he's dealt with. Combining them, you get quite a bit of information going here. I don't know if tortious interference falls under a contract case or a tort negligence case, but that's quite a bit. Obviously dominated by federal criminal cases on his docket. Outcomes you can check on civil rights stuff. Uncontested dismissals, settled, dispositive motion, verdict, docketed elsewhere. Man, I wish Vic's case was in federal court. We could get a lot more details. But, maybe we can do this. Suitor. We can take a look at their ruling tendencies. So see all appeals. So torts and negligence. Let's see what it says. Oh, no. I don't want that. I want the details. So she affirms 75% of the time, reverses 25% of the time, right? That's 9 and 3 as the numbers there. So that gives you an idea. And I've talked about this. That number shouldn't be too surprising for people. I've talked about this, that reversing a decision is an uphill battle. It really is. So on torts and negligence, we're talking 75% affirms. And this is why I've never given, when people ask me and press me on percentages, I don't like to give them, but I think around 30% is a fair assessment of Vic's chances, because not based on anything other than just how hard it is to overcome a decision. Let's see what kind of TCPA we've got. TCPA search. So we've got one case, TCPA, United Food and Commercial Workers International Union versus Walmart stores, where she has affirmed it. But we know, now there's only one case here, but we know that this isn't right, because Suter penned Vanderlinden versus Kahn, and that was a mixed case. Appeals. Oh, no, wait. This is appeals of the judge's decision. Appeals to this judge. Way different. Way different. Sorry. Again, I'm getting used to this. So appeals to this judge. She's affirmed 66% of the time, affirmed and reversed in part 9% of the time, and flat out reversed 19% of the time. Now, if Vic's case, if we're taking a realistic look at Vic's case, this is the most likely outcome of him winning something, would be affirmed and reversed in part. So some of it is going to be upheld and the rest of it is not going to be. So we would say that out of the 17 causes of action, they're going to say that some of them Judge Chuck properly dismissed. It's splitting the baby, right? Or they're throwing out the actions that they believe were improper or not supported by evidence, and then they're affirming, or they're reversing on the actions that they think they did bring it. So if Vic has a positive, I think it's going to be in this category. I don't see a clean sweep positive on Vic's part, just because I'm a pessimist. Okay, but that's that's where we are with her. So, and that's, frankly, it's pretty consistent. We went from 75-25 to 66% and then 28%. And then 6% other, well, 3% other and 3% remanded. But again, look at the sample sizes are still pretty small on this stuff. So you can do Suitorth here. We can look at Wallach. But so the results, here's her overall rate. But of course, like I said, by case type is more relevant because criminal justice is dominating her docket list like it is for most justices. Let's see. Let's check TCPA within these results and see what happens. Now take a look at this. And still doesn't have Vanderlinden, do we? Oh wait, we've got Vanderlinden. So here we go. 7 total cases. We've got a 50-50 on torts and negligence. Let's see, results. So mixed outcome 2, positive 3, negative 2. So this is where negatives are reversed, positives are affirmed, and mixed outcome on 2 of them. Like I said, mixed outcome is going to be Vanderlinden v. Kahn, for example. So, I mean, if you go on TCPA, you've got these two, you've got a 4-3. So you've actually got a majority of decisions having something come back. But, so that's kind of interesting, to say the least. What's the table look like? So affirmed 3, affirmed in part, reversed in part 2, and reversed 2. So looking at that, you know, that's a good judge for Vic. But I don't want to put, the sample size is tiny, and that's putting too much emphasis on a statistical analysis, and that's not how appeals court works. Okay? It's not. Who's Judge Womack? Let's see. Womack. Here it is. State of Texas, 2nd District. Dana Womack. So we've got, so see all the appeals. Appeals to this judge. And we've got, oh no. See, Womack doesn't look great for Vic, but let's see what TCPA says for Womack. So a criminal justice TCPA is the only TCPA Womack has worked on, and they try to, let's see, an order granting a TCPA motion to dismiss is not an appealable interlocutory order. Okay, so this is criminal justice. The appeal is dismissed, and they said that you can't appeal during the pendency of the action. So that's the only TCPA case that Womack has dealt with. Now let's see if Wallach has dealt with any. Mike Wallach, 2nd District Court of Appeals, is the other judge here. And he's only had 20 dockets total. Let's see. 1 tort case. Let's do TCPA on him and see if he's dealt with any TCPA. 6 cases invoking the TCPA. None of them in tort. Oh, wait, no, 1 in tort. It was reversed. Professional responsibility. That's kind of funny. Legal services, intellectual property. So now, and again, we don't actually, I haven't done the deep dives. Some of these reversals and affirmations could be for or against the TCPA. Just having it affirmed or denied. But we're just looking at reversals because that's what we want in this case. I don't want to represent that reversals are always in the favor of the plaintiff. That's not true. That's not true. But again, pretty interesting stuff we've got here. So the tort negligence case, oh God, I got to stop clicking on that. Let's filter that down. Personal injury. This is Fong Wen versus Able Communications. Accelerated interlocutory appeal. Appellates asked whether the trial court erred by denying their TCPA motions because we determined that except for fraud by non-disclosure claim against when the TCPA applies, able did not make a prima facie. See, so in this one, the reversal went in favor of the TCPA. So this would be a bad reversal case for Vic. Does that make sense? So anyway, like I said, it goes to show you just how few of these cases these judges have dealt with. Right? In general. But yeah. So, I don't know. Again, deep dives, big tools to do these deep dives are really interesting, and we'll have to see how they go. They have to see how they go. Yakel is not on TCPA, Sauce. Yakel is on, well, Yakel's a federal court, so no, Womack will not follow Yakel's lead. Maybe Sudearth's, if you're talking about Sudearth. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. Do I think that the election Chump ran for and lost was due to his poor handling of the Vic case, and will it affect Vic's case? I don't know, but I have heard that some people campaigned against Chup actively due to his handling of Vic's case. Will that factor into Vic's case? I don't know. I have no idea. It's impossible to tell. We'll just have to wait and see. I genuinely think getting past TCPA, I'm not actually worried about Chup's behavior. If it comes back past Chup on TCPA, I'm not worried about Chup as a judge. I'm really not. It's less and less in his hands at that point. But yeah, Wolvenar, I kind of am interested in going through and looking at their history and seeing how they do it. But it's going to take a little time, you know, that whole thing. So we'll see. We'll see. But long story short, guys, I've got some new fun research tools that should allow for analytics and more insight into judges. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Let's see this. No. Okay, see, now I know this has to not be right. This can't be correct. And this is probably more a case of reporting. So I want to be very clear on this. Let's see. Maybe he's not the lead attorney on it. Let's see this. Let's try this. Hold on. Hold on. Are we really? So I'm thinking this has to be incomplete data. So I'll show you the data I'm looking at and I'll tell you why I think it's incomplete. So this is Jeffrey Helberg. These are his TCPA cases. He's gotten 2 uncontested dismissals. Defendant left the case 466 days after the docket opened. This one is left the case 915 days after the docket opened. So these are uncontested dismissals. I looked up Jay-Sean Lemoyne. Oh, shoot. There's a lot of Lemoynes. Sean Lemoyne. For example, Wick Phillips. outcomes. And if we type in TCPA, he only has one case show up. And it's an uncontested dismissal and is filed by Jeffrey Hellberg. So this has to be incorrect, right? Lemoyne has to have done more than one TCPA case. Because I think he's mentioned that he's got 5, or he's had 5 so far. So that can't be right. And I think it's, like I said, I think it's a reporting issue. So I was hoping to get more information about that. But, you know, I have not, yeah, I haven't found it. So, hold on, let's try this one. Was there a second? That's a Sean W. Lemoyne. That's not a J. Sean Lemoyne. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, I was hoping for more information on Lemoyne, and maybe I'm not doing that right. I'll have to look into the tools a little bit better. But again, better analytics on federal cases, I believe. Wait a minute. Let's check this out. Here we go. This is interesting. Here, outcomes. So here's T. Greg. So T. Greg has uncontested dismissal, 3 settled, and 1 docketed elsewhere. So obviously T. Greg has worked on more than 7 cases in his life. Like that's a thing. I'm not even on here. So I don't know. I don't know where they get the information. But again, for like settlements and dismissals, they would have information on me. I don't know if my county even reports on it or if I have to report. I have no idea how it works out. But pretty interesting. Let's see. No. I guess you don't want to be a plaintiff's lawyer with uncontested dismissals. So settled, docketed elsewhere. Let's see. Anyway, again, I'll have to look into it more and see what comes up. I don't know what all these things are yet. Still learning it. Let's stop fiddling around with it. Oh, I didn't talk about homeschooling. Damn it. No, I'm not on federal. Or was it? Oh, I was on federal. There's nothing on state for him. They don't have any state data on him at all. I'll show you. So here's T. Greg, no state data. So again, there's not going to be, if his county in North Carolina is not reporting, they're not going to have any info on it. So less fun. On Wick Phillips, it was fed too. Damn it. Going back to it. No, on Wick Phillips, it's state. Actually, I'll show you. It defaulted to state on them. So here's the state data on outcomes. This is on state. Nope, that was on federal. It started on federal on state on the overview, and then federal is here. So state. So outcomes is only federal. They don't have state outcomes for them. That's why there's no TCPA stuff. Boring. Damn. I was hoping for more information. So, anyway. But like I said, we got to dig through some of this stuff. I'm more interested in the judges than I am in Lemons. I'm more interested in everybody than I am in T. Greg. And it's kind of a curious thing. But that's an overview of my tools that I just got. So I'm very excited to play with those. I'll show you the one more story real quick on where is it? Did I not get it? Where's the mother effing homeschool? Oh, it was on my Twitter feed. All right. This is an article from the renowned scientific journal Good Housekeeping. We're just going to spend a minute on this, and then we'll wrap up the show. Go watch some movie, a good movie of some sort, or a bad movie. I don't know. Is it possible to create homeschooling pods and micro schools without opportunity hoarding? All right. How much? I don't think I have enough space to everything. Let me. Are you guys worried about opportunity hoarding when you're educating your children? Parents, I can look up Kevin Landau. Oh, God damn it. Kevin A. Landau, the Landau Group. Oh, man. Guys, he's in 326 criminal cases. No state data. Very little Fed data. His federal cases. But see, you can never tell because you can't tell with Landau because he leaves the case. Right? He leaves the case. So you can't tell with him. But this one is the big one. This one's docketed elsewhere. This was Almasiga. This is the one this is filed in federal court, but moved into state court in New York, and he got absolutely fisted by the judge in this case. So that's that. But anyway, if you're not doing almost exclusively federal practice, you're not going to show up on this. So it's not really, I'm not going to dig through it that much right now. Here we go. Parents are choosing between a host of unfavorable options for fall's return to schools, but pandemic pods also bring about issues of inequality. Let me tell you guys flat out, if you're educating your children in any education decision, the last thing on your mind in educating your children is the equality of other children. The equality of other children should be the farthest thing on anyone's mind when you're choosing how to educate your own children. Does forming a pandemic pod for your kid make you privileged and selfish? Will podding up with some trusted friends really ruin education for everyone? The short answer, no. No, it won't. It never depends. Ever. No. No is the answer to both of those questions. No. One reason these questions get tricky, is that pod is a word in flux. A month ago, education policymakers and public health officials used the term to refer to school administrators splitting kids into small groups, much smaller than your average class, to minimize exposure. Once it became clear that many schools across the country, both public and private, would not return to full-time in-person learning this fall, the term pod took on a new and ambiguous life. If you, like me, can't open Twitter or Facebook without seeing some reference to pandemic pods, you're actually hearing about a range of setups that differ in significant ways. Those differences are key to understanding why some people think signing up for an arrangement that benefits your kids throws other kids under the bus. It never does. Ever. Ever. You cannot, by doing something beneficial for your kid, harm another child unless you literally take something from them. And you cannot do that by choosing a good education for your child. You cannot do it. Ever. It's impossible. I don't care if you hire the Dalai Lama to personally educate your kid for $7 million an hour. It doesn't matter. That cannot negatively impact another kid. It can't. Some pods look more like playgroups with parents taking turns supervising as kids socialize. Others come closer to a preschool co-op model with parents in shifts guiding learning. That type further divides into those that simply support distance learning using the materials provided by the kids' teachers. Notice this. The kids' teachers. As if there's some actual relationship to an individual child and the teacher from the state. There isn't. It's a function of chance. There isn't. Unless you're personally hiring a teacher, then there is no existing relationship between the child and the state agent in front of them. It's just a matter of where you live and what random chance the child gets in placement. That's all. As well as making sure everyone's got supplies and whatnot. And those that supplant the school's curriculum, devising their own lessons. Still others hire a tutor, teacher, or caregiver so that parents don't have to take turns. These hired labor pods, aka market combinations, can still be supplementary to the efforts of schools, primarily encouraging play or assisting the distance learning. But some become micro schools, hiring a trained tutor or teacher to manage a curriculum of their own creation or one parents have purchased. This last type of pod completely supersedes traditional schooling in the same way homeschooling does. Look at this. There are safety issues with the types of childcare and learning arrangements being called pods. Public school teachers fuck their students. Let me reiterate. Public school teachers fuck their students and buy them drugs and take them to parties. Often. With the amount of arrests we see, we can only assume the problem is larger. You think hiring a private tutor and paying them $60,000 to $120,000 a year is putting your particular snowflake at risk? Putting them in a public school system is far riskier. I'll tell you right now. Putting them in a public school system where you have no ability to background check a teacher that they get, and you assume merely that the state has done its due diligence and that the state has followed up and enforced against complaints against a teacher, you're assuming that an incompetent government agency is actually responsibly managing its staff, while over and over and over again, we have horror stories about teachers' actions. That is a safer environment than you personally hiring someone for somewhere near 6 figures a year to privately tutor your child. I'll take my chances. It's easy for a pod, which is intended to be a closed circuit, to become a chain. Say one child in a pod has a sister who's in her own pod, and that sister's podmate has an exception for family, with the sister's podmate's uncle living with a woman whose young adult son stays with them every other weekend. Are you kidding me? Do you read what just happened? One child in a pod has a sister who's in her own pod. And that sister's podmate has an exception for family, with the sister's podmate's uncle living with a woman whose young adult son saves with them every other weekend. So now the girl's going to get raped? That's the implication? Exposure is further increased when tutors and teachers take on multiple families. Acknowledging this likely turn of events. A pod that may have 20 students is allegedly more dangerous because of associations than a public school with 2,000 students? Is that what we're arguing here? Is that the argument? That they're more at risk in a group of 20 than 2,000 based on attenuations from the group? The amount of permutations in a 2,000 student body versus a 20 student body it's orders of magnitude. It's orders of magnitude higher. Like monumental amounts of permutations and possible risk factors. Oh my God. Acknowledging this likely turn of events, Sohail Sood, MD, an associate professor of pediatrics at UCSF, University of California, San Francisco, says conducting pod activities outdoors can help, though that will be easier for families in more temperate parts of the country. Face coverings and physical distancing. Oh, wait, we're talking about exposure to COVID. We're talking about COVID exposure? Here I thought we were talking about actual danger to children. We're talking about COVID exposure. Face coverings and physical distancing should also be encouraged. His bottom line, pods have the potential to exacerbate community spread if they aren't set up at the get-go to operate within the confines of local public health directives. A group of 20 is so unlikely compared to a group of 2,000. And most of these groups are far lower than 20. You're talking about like 5, 6. There are also some questions as to legality with families who hire someone to care for their young kids potentially stepping into hot water with daycare licensing authorities. How many schools are licensed daycare providers? Because that's literally what the hell we're talking about anyway. For older kids, micro schools can be seen as charter schools operating without a charter or home-based private schools that haven't filed the appropriate paperwork with the state. Imagine this. I want to educate my child, and to do so, I want to hire someone who I have determined to be the appropriate educator. Nope. File your charter school paperwork. Add $1 million of overhead. Maybe it's only $100,000. Add $100,000 of overhead to your already existing thing. Comply with this. Make sure your house that the child lives in, where the schooling is taking place, is now up to code. Oh, sorry, we're gonna need you to update that staircase. We're gonna need you to update those windows. You can't run a charter school. It's just my kid and a private tutor. No. This is a charter school. Mira Debs, executive director of Yale's Education Studies program, recommends reading what Shayla R. Griffin has to say about both regulatory and ethical guidelines about workplace safety, fair pay, and benefits. You privately negotiate a contract, and now we're talking about fair pay and benefits? Jesus. The biggest hurdle for pandemic pods by far is fairness. This is what they don't like. This is what they're after. Good Housekeeping is not the first to point out the major equity issues with each of these models, including issues surrounding who will be involved, how this will impact the return to school at the kids' home districts, and how these pods interpret equity and diversity. If families act without much thought, they're likely to reach out to people they already know well, people who are like them in obvious ways like income level, educational background, and ethnicity. By the way, you know who wanted and did not get teachers who were familiar and like them on income level, educational background, and ethnicity? Black families. Black families wanted that after Brown versus Board of Education. They wanted teachers who were like them, aka black, who understood black issues in the 60s and 70s. They wanted those teachers. You know what happened to them? They were all fired in favor of white teachers. They were all fired in favor of white teachers. And if you're a black family who's higher income, you may want to hire a black tutor who is from an affluent family. You may want a tutor who can go ahead and identify with your kid. Rather than some barely struggling to afford their weekly dose of ramen teacher, right, out of Detroit, you might want to hire an affluent black master's of education or even a PhD in education. Like, you might want to hire someone like that. That's not a problem. That's a good thing. This is a thing where parents have the ability to interview and identify someone that they think will be best for their children. And these chuckle fucks are saying that's a bad thing. People who have a similar level of exposure to the public around them, and people who live nearby. Groups formed on the fly are likely to be racially homogenous. Oh God, not racial homogeneity. How will they deal with it in a group of 10 or less? How will they deal with only 10 white people? Don't they know that they need to have 6 white people, 1 Mexican, and 2 blacks? Don't they know that? And maybe half of an Asian? Maybe they can mix one of the blacks with the Asians. They could get Tiger in there. Tiger Woods can help them. Huh? And we're not just talking about white people here. Of course not. And it's not a problem. Many middle and upper class families of color tweeted Prudence L. Her name is fucking Prudence. Of course it is. Of course her name would be Prudence. Professor and Dean of the Graduate School of Education. You know what? If you want your kid to be Dean of a school of education, name them Prudence. Of course there'll be some hippie humanities garbage. Of course they're going to. Would Prudence ever be like a high-powered salesman? No, never. It's impossible. Someone named Prudence can't be. They'd get tired of, like, chicks wouldn't sleep with them. They wouldn't be there. At the University of California, Berkeley, are also looking for educational alternatives for our children this fall. Parents who have the most resources will tend to connect with other families who have the most resources, and only their children will benefit. A result called opportunity hoarding. Parents of children with disabilities worry their kids will be left out too. Another valid concern is that the micro school model, particularly if financially supported by pro-voucher legislation. Oh my God, if you give my kids school choice vouchers. Guys, I have 5 children. 5 children, pro-choice school choice vouchers in Minnesota. You're gonna give me $6,000, $7,000 a kid? I will absolutely hire a private tutor. In a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. Send in your applications. I will hire a private tutor. I will take my $6,000 per kid. I will add my own money to it, and I will hire a private tutor. No question. You can come to my house every day and educate my children. Hands down. No problem. You have the poshest job in the world. I'll make you ramen personally. Like the bill introduced in the Senate last week, will mean families don't return to public schools. Even if the flight is temporary this time around, and families return when in-person learning resumes. School will be faced with a dilemma. Almost all of them plan on starting with small groups coming to campus in shifts. A school will want to create cohorts that are balanced in terms of gender, reading level, parental education, and other factors. If its community is peppered with parent-organized pods, the school is left having to choose whether to accommodate parent-organized pods to reduce everyone's exposure or redistribute kids into equitable groups. The Oakland Unified School District has already released a letter informing parents that many of its schools will not be honoring requests to place students in classes together based on pandemic pods. No, no, no. You don't get to choose your children's education. You don't get a say, parents. We will tell you where your children will be, and we will base it on the ever important God demographics. We don't care where your child is. We care what gender and race they are, because that fits into our demographic modeling, and that is the God whose feet at which we worship. And Indiana University sociologist Jessica Calarco produced a template parents can use to urge other districts to do the same. Fuck you. Some mean to address these concerns by offering a scholarship spot in each pod to a student whose family does not have the time or money that other families plan to contribute. While it's a good thing to help the poors, to set up educational systems that anticipate some caregivers having less bandwidth than others. By the way, a scholarship spot goes against the entire narrative that they're talking about. Like, hey, we don't just want to associate with people like us. We want to offer other people who, by the way, rich people's friends are not all rich. Poor people's friends are not all poor. Stupid. While it's a good thing to set up educational systems that anticipate some caregivers having less bandwidth money than others, this strategy is also problematic for a few reasons. For starters, having one scholarship spot in a pod is a recipe for the child who fills it to feel like a lesser valued member of the group. Yes, the kids are all worried about the economic distribution of resources that their parents have put out in regards to their education. The kids are worried about that. Yep, that's what's going on there. You know, those kids are like, you know what? My friend Bill, who is in here, and I have no idea who's actually paying for this, because I'm just going to a school with a couple of my friends that my family knows. Bill, you're a cuck because your dad isn't paying what my dad is paying. Are we serious? Says R. Leroux Louis McCoy, an associate professor of the sociology of education at New York University. Notice what universities they're picking. NYU, University of San Francisco, California, San Francisco, UC Berkeley. Where's Iowa State or whatever? At the most basic level, if 4 out of 5 kids are already friends, the 5th is likely to feel like an outsider. Look at the assumption. We're going to have a scholarship spot for someone we don't know. No, the likely outcome is they're going to have a scholarship spot for a kid in their friends group. That's the likely outcome. If there are 4 out of 5 friends, there's probably 5 out of 5 friends, and one of those friends is a renter or something who doesn't have, they have a single parent household, but they're still a friend of the family's. They met him at church, maybe. God damn it. No matter how welcoming everyone tries to be, look at these people assuming how kids act. It's disgusting. Even if all the kids have pre-existing relationships, another concern can, again, every objection will be overcome in this article because this is a persuasive hit piece. Another concern can apply for children of color invited to join predominantly white pods. Guess what? If it's a predominantly white pod with one child of color, they're in a predominantly white community and that child of color is already a minority and they don't give a fuck. They don't care. You're not talking about grabbing a kid from inner city Chicago and putting him in a school in the Hamptons with a bunch of rich whiteys. That's not what's happening in these pods. JPB Gerald, a doctoral student at City University of New York's Hunter College, who wrote an article on the subject with Professor Debs, says if black and brown kids are policed and adultified more in schools, there's no reason to think the same patterns wouldn't pop up in pods. Again, they're talking about pods of 5 kids, and they're talking about policing the darky in a pod. In a pod, behavioral patterns are going to be vastly different in a setting of 5 than they are in a setting of 100. Professor Lewis McCoy has a similar thought when it comes to different income levels. We know that rates of COVID tend to be higher in high poverty areas. If that scholarship child has a cold, do you think the other families will say it's likely just a cold? I'm sorry, right now, you're in your pod, which is more forgiving than a school necessarily because it's a pod and doesn't have federal regulatory structures around attendance. You think any kid is going to the pod with a cold? Do you think any kid is welcome in the pod with a cold? They'll just say, nah, buddy, stay home. Why would you bring your kid to the pod? We don't care. If your kid has a cold, please don't bring it to my kid because I don't want a cold. Not because I don't want COVID. It's because I don't want a cold. A paying participant, he says, is much more likely to get the benefit of the doubt. No, incorrect. This is an incorrect look at this. White parents, BLM. This is who, notice who's talking. Also white parents, removes child from public schools, forms pod with other white parents to pay a tutor. Not their concern what happened to the kids who can't afford this, who happen to be black and brown. No, it's literally not their concern. Oh, wait, I thought Black Lives Matter was only about this. Oh my gosh. This house homeboy needs to be educated by Don Lemon. It's about police treatment of black lives only. It's about police violence only. That's what Black Lives Matter is. You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. Unless you're Ron and you're into pegging. In addition, focusing on the resources that higher income parents have to offer lower income students can obscure an important truth. The benefits of integration and inclusion don't flow in just one direction. There's a great deal of research that diversity in race, culture, and perspective adds value to the learning experience for everyone. Yes! Of course, which is why white families may actually want to have a diversity hire in their pod. Reminds Pedro Noguera, Dean of the Rossier School of Education at the University of Southern California. We're just bouncing off coasts here. All this is not to say that the scholarship option shouldn't be considered, Professor Lewis McCoy concludes. It simply means that those who have such arrangements need to do some deep searching to address these potential pitfalls. How white kids get the cultural enrichment of getting their asses beat, though? In a pod of 5 students, it is far less likely than it is in inner city Detroit. Pods of people are vastly different environments with vastly different social compositions. It's silly to try and apply the same models you would in an inner city school to a pod of 5 if one person is not affluent and 4 people are. That's nonsense. I don't. That's a crazy conclusion. Because, by the way, if you have 4 rich people attempting to offer a spot to a poor, those 4 rich people are not offering a spot to a random poor. They're not like, well, we'll just go to the inner city and find a diverse youth to add to our program. That is not how that's going to work. If they're adding a scholarship spot at all, they probably have one person in mind who will benefit specifically from that scholarship spot. That's how people behave. That's how people act. Otherwise, why scholarship someone? There's no motivating factor to add another student to a pod for no benefit, unless they're attempting to do it on a specific case basis. This is just silly. Some have called for parents to stop pod forming and instead direct their energy and power towards political action. Nope, never. Never, ever direct your energy and power towards political action, ever. As a rule, no. Doing that should be the exception to the rule. This is nonsense. In a talk she gave last week, Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Nicole Hannah-Jones said she hears parents say, "I know it's unfair, but I've got to do what's right for my child." Yes. Yes, correct. And it's easy to empathize with that impulse. That's because it's the correct impulse. There is no impulse more correct than "I know it's unfair, but I've got to do what's right for my child." Look, if there's a line of 20 students and one of them is your child, and someone is going to walk by and shoot 19 of those students, and they say, which child will you pull out of that line? And you pull any child other than yours out of that line, you should be shot. I'm sorry about the 19 other students. It's an unfortunate tragedy. But you should never look at your child and go, "You know what, Jimmy? We're going to make this equitable. Whether you live or die is equitable. Because I want Jamal to have a chance. I want Erica to have a chance. I want Josue to have a chance." No, fuck. Are you kidding? And by the way, if you're the Mexican parent, pull Josue out. Like, what are we talking about here? What are we talking about here? But that is the story of segregation. No, it isn't. The story of segregation is state-enforced segregation under laws made by Democrats. Democrat-passed laws to prevent blacks from being in the same school. And by the way, most blacks in the Civil Rights Act era did not want to be in white schools. They wanted the right to be in white schools. There's a big, big difference between wanting to be in the white schools and wanting the right to be in the white schools. Most of them wanted to stay in black schools. They just didn't want to be told that they couldn't be in a different school. Speaking of whitewashing history, we're whitewashing the entire civil rights movement by putting the white saviors of black people on pedestals and ignoring the actual desires of the black people. It's fucking disingenuous and disgusting how we do this. Oh, all the white judges in Brown versus Board of Education really understood the desires of the black families. No, they didn't. No, they didn't at all. When they ordered them integrated, the families are like, wait. Our kids are going to be ostracized. They're going to be harassed. They're going to be harmed. We don't want them actually in the schools. We just don't want to be told we can't be there, because that's equality. Equality is not integration. Equality is saying that you can't be told no based on your race and nothing more. It does not mean being told yes based on your race. Integration from black kids into white schools was being told yes based on them being black. That's it. And that's not what many, many, many people wanted. Here, look at this. One that's been told and retold over the decades since 1954's Brown versus Board decision. Imagine if those parents who are spending all this time organizing to create these pods, she says, were instead forcing the issue of school equality and openings. Let's break this down logically. Imagine if parents who are, by definition, removing their children from the public space, were instead forcing issues of school equality and openings, that's dumb. They don't want school equality or openings, and they shouldn't. Public education is the welfare of education. Public education is the welfare of it. We have, as a society, as parents, as people, we have abdicated our educational obligations to our children to the fucking welfare system. That's like saying, I can buy my kid a steak, but I'd rather them have government cheese and milk. That's what we've done. That's public education. Public education should be the fallback. It should be the option of last resort for a parent who cannot otherwise educate their child. Period. The majority of children should, if we're taking our parenting duties seriously, rather than culturally, the majority of children should be in private education or homeschooled. That's it. Public education is welfare without requirements. That's all. Of course, if everybody on earth could take welfare, like if Bill Gates could get welfare dollars, he'd probably take it. Because it would work well on his asset sheet to take extra money for free. That's why Ayn Rand said, I'll take Social Security. I paid into it. I should take it. She's opposed to all other state welfare, but she took Social Security. Of course she did. Of course she did. If the state is going to allocate X amount of dollars to every single person, they'll all take their yang bucks. Of course they will. It wouldn't make sense for them to not take them. If you can get economic gain, you'll take it. 99% of people will, and that's what we've done with education. But the reality is, in all other aspects of our life, people either qualify out or actively resist welfare based on their principles. Not school. Not school. But it should be garbage. Public education should be garbage. It should be the trash tier schooling that we would expect. It should be the minimum standard. Every other piece of education should be superior, and we should strive to give our kids that superior experience. Change my fucking mind on it. I dare you. Yeah, Wolvenar, I know. I gotta wrap up. Let's just wrap up this this section. Of like mind, Professor Debs recently attended a protest in Connecticut where parents and kids stood with teachers to demand the prioritization and funding of the safe reopening of schools. Oh yeah, schools are really hurting for money. They don't get any funding. She and JPP Gerald have asked parents to collectively mobilize like this instead of hiring private tutors. On one hand, hire a private tutor and give your kid every advantage they can possibly get. On the other hand, go argue for the lowest common denominator. Go do that. You go get them. Yeah. Burn the school system to the damn ground. Burn it to the ground. It's done. It's trash. It's the worst government failed experiment I can think of. But parents will take action when it comes to their own kids. Holy shit, shocker. I believe telling privileged families, you can't do this if everyone can't, is a course as futile as it is principled. It's not even principled. That's not a principled stance. That's a dumb stance. That's raw stupidity spoon-fed into your anus. No, never ever do this to your children. That is not a principle. That is a principle of disenfranchisement of your children. You earn the benefits you pass on to your children. You earn it. You earn it. I don't care if you inherited every single cent of it. Somebody earned it for you. Like, let's say Paris Hilton didn't turn her damn name into a $1 billion empire and she literally only rode the coattails of her dad and just became a sluggard. Paris Hilton just got Mr. Hilton's money and then did nothing else in her entire life. By the way, Paris Hilton deserves some credit for turning her tits and her weird smirk into $1 billion. But that's a side story. Let's say she never did that. If she just was a sluggard and did nothing, she would still have earned the right to do whatever she wants for the benefit of her children. Her children do not deserve to be principled out at the sacrificial altar of other kids. Angry Baneling, thank you for quoting Saving Private Ryan. Fantastic quote. Great movie. Such a pivotal moment. Still not okay to cry. I emailed some friends and we decided to give an alternative a try. Working with a public school. Well, you hate your kids. And that's where we end on that subject. Working with a public school. You hate your children. Fuck off. If you have the resources and ability to get your kids out of public school, do it immediately. Do it immediately. Get them out. Get them out. Why would you do that to your kids? That's one of the most infuriating articles I've ever read. All right, let's do this. We're gonna lightning round super chats to try and be done by 3. We're gonna do one movie tonight. I wish I knew what movie it was gonna be. I really don't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. I'm open to suggestions. If someone has a good suggestion, it must... Look, if you send me a suggestion that's not on Prime, I'm tempted to ban you. I'm tempted to ban you. Send me a suggestion. Since we've got one movie tonight, it should have gratuitous violence and nudity. We're not doing Elfen Lied tonight. Okay. Nova Zero says, or, learn to code. Can we put the educators out of work already? I mean, I used to do it by teaching kids to code. Kids are based, man. I love teaching those little self-identified attack helicopters. Kids are awesome. My kids, they spend an inordinate amount of time, I feel, on Roblox. They love Roblox. They play the shit out of Roblox. But you know what my kids do on Roblox? They're learning coding and scripting. They're learning how to code and script on Roblox. Shit that I don't know. Like I've tinkered with mild amounts of C++, whatever. And that's it. My kids know how to script shit on Roblox. They know how to make things and develop. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, they're playing Roblox for several hours a day, but they're learning stuff that will translate into real world job experience. By the time that they're adults, they need to learn how to code. They really don't need to learn a lot of other stuff that's going on, but they definitely need to learn how to code. I wish I knew how to fucking code. If I knew how to code, I'd already have a damn website. Instead, I'm going to have to pay somebody to make one. Like, if I knew how to do this stuff, I would already have done it. My kids, by the time that they are graduating high school, homeschool high school, they'll already know code. They'll be adaptable to new languages because they'll just understand the basic principles behind it. It's insane. Here we are denigrating video games today. Video games today are way different. Mods... Minecraft is this dumb thing. My kids are trying to learn. They're learning how to create Minecraft mods. And they're like, Dad, can you help us? No. I have a penis. No, of course, I can't help them. I have no idea. But if I could, I'd probably be richer than I am. Imagine if my channel was a Minecraft channel. It'd have 10 times the subscribers. Jesus Christ. Okay, back to the super chats. Felipe says, does the AI can research decent haircuts? If it does, you should invest in that tool ASAP. Rude. Halloween 1987. Wait, that's the original Halloween? I don't know. Is that on Prime? The Drifter? Are you going to get banned? Halloween is on Prime! Holy shit. 1978, you mean? Yeah, we're watching it. Halloween, guys. Michael Myers. Donald Pleasance. You're dealing with someone who isn't even remotely human. Yes, we're doing that. It's perfect. No ban. You've avoided it. You've avoided it. Good job. Okay, back to super chats. So, if you need to alternatively procure a copy of Halloween for the watch party tonight, do it now. You've been warned. FGC Anon says, if you search Dutch alimony reform, there was a change to alimony laws where the years you could collect alimony would change from 12 years to 5 on January 1st, 2020, and the divorce rate skyrocketed before that deadline to make sure they got the 12 years. Of course, but it'll be better in the long run. Changes like that, yeah, it accelerates things in the short run, but it's better in the long run. Felipe Mube says, in my opinion, it's about feminizing men. They need to debilitate American men to destroy the country. Most feminists are single mother children. Yeah, or assaultist men, right? Ron's a feminist. Ron beats women. Also threatens to murder children and dogs. But that's who male feminists are. They're just women. Felipe Mube says, all those feminists are also perverts that think that through shilling they could get some. It's all hypocrisy and lack of meaning. Yeah, it's like showing up to the drum circle and going, boom, boom, boom. May I please touch the poochie? May I please touch the poochie? DHS Kermit says, hey there, Antifa. That sure is a nice looking IED you got there. Would be a shame if your grandmother put out your personally identifying information out there, eh? Hope you're ready for a free van ride. Yeah. Bad Dragonite says, I find it interesting that I remember Christians warning about all the crazy rhetoric going on now and censorship that would go on over a decade ago, and people said their predictions were crazy. It was really more than they were victims of at first. Yep. By the way, if you want to know what's coming for white people and rich people, listen to Drexel. Look at what happened to the black community. The one from the 50s and 60s. The one with the highest marriage rate in the country. The one with family continuity that superseded all the other racial demographics. Look what they did to them. You want to know where it's going? Who whites are about to have a single motherhood pandemic. Bigger than coronavirus. We're about to have a bunch of little misguided, meth-addled munchkins running around, slapping and murdering people. It's coming. It's coming. Blacks are the test samples for social engineering. Crusader Saracen says, Kamala Harris is perhaps the most unlikable person in politics today, which is quite the achievement. If any one person can drive half the black vote to Republicans, it would be her. I hope she gets picked, lol. Me too. That would be great. E1337 Neo says, hey, Nick. What? No, it says it's on... Fuck! Halloween is on Shudder. God damn it! Oh, I have a Shudder subscription. I didn't know. Banned! Get banned! Who was that? You're banned. For life. Forever. I need a different suggestion. Damn it! E1337 Neo says, hey Nick, as someone who learned to code ages ago and has worked in web development for over 15 years, I couldn't agree with you more on keeping your kids on that straight and narrow coding path. They'll go far. They will. They will. The Drifter, you're sorry? You're sorry? You think this is something you can fix by being you're sorry? I hope you get canceled. Top Gun is not until the 1st of August. 1st of August. I need nudity and violence, and I need it now. Don't make me pick Bound, the 50 Shades of Grey knockoff with Charisma Carpenter. Even though some people might want to see that. Don't make me pick Bound. I'll do it. I'll do it, you bastards, unless you give me a good movie to watch. Okay, back to it. Crusader Saracen says, hey Nick, remember when I don't want to do Lone Wolf McQuaid. No. The Chuck movies have been pissing me off lately. Eyes Wide Shut. Is that, I don't think that's on Prime. You got to give me a Prime movie. Remember when people used to call it slippery slope fallacy? Now it's just a slippery slope. It's not a fallacy anymore. Slippery slope is real. Big Trouble in Little China isn't on there. Ethical Dilemma says, have you seen how proper grammar is racist now, apparently? Yes. Also, with the lack of response to the leaders where the riots are happening, could they be prosecuted for allowing their cities to be destroyed and people killed? It seems a horrible precedent. If not, no, they can't be prosecuted for it. Can't be prosecuted for politics, and you shouldn't be. Event Horizon is not on Prime. Damn it. Bad Dragonite says, where's the My Body, My Choice crowd on voluntary conversion therapy and on the masks? They're gone. Joshua Graham says, Caesar is a cuck and the white legs are Tardo Uggs. Please read Psalm 137 King James Version in Lemoyne voice. That's a lot of Psalm. Psalm 137 KJV. Let's see. Wait, do you want me to sing it like I'm Sublime or whatever? By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down, yea, we wept, and we remembered Zion. We hanged our harps upon the willows in the midst thereof. For there they that carried us away captive required of us a song, and they that wasted us required of us mirth, saying, sing us one of the songs of Zion. How shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget her cunning. If I do not remember thee, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. If I prefer not Jerusalem above my chief joy, remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof. O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed, happy shall he be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us. Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones. I should have been dashed against the stones. So there you go. That's some Lemons action for you. What do we have here? Mountain of the Cannibal God. Event Horizon was on Prime last time I looked. No way. No, it's not. I'm going to ban you. Event Horizon. Showtime. If you have Showtime, you get Event Horizon. You just want Event Horizon? No. What about In the Mouth of Madness. I don't think that. Do you read Sutter Kane? No, that's not on there either. Damn it! Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a family portrait? That's not Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's something else. Okay, anyway. You guys got me unfocused here again. Last Dragon isn't on there. Damn it. Malik Foxon says, here's an idea. To test the tool's accuracy, look yourself up. You know your record better than most other people write. Yeah, but I don't have any federal record, and the states just don't report as well. Ethical Dilemma says, why don't they just get rid of teachers' unions? They're all communists and lunatics. They've made insane demands and want to abolish home and private schools, want to keep schools on lockdown. How are taxpayer-funded unions not a conflict of interest? Of course they are. They are a conflict of interest. Shudder doesn't work on Prime. It just doesn't. It doesn't matter that it's a free trial. It doesn't work on the watch parties. Watch parties are only Prime. No, nothing else. Maybe we'll watch The Arena. Or Rollerball. We can watch Rollerball with James Caan. That's a sweet movie. Ethical Dilemma says, let's do Rollerball. Or Sliver. Sliver. Maybe. Why not Society? I don't know what Society is. I don't want to do Samurai Cop. Everybody keeps saying Samurai Cop. Ethical Dilemma says, why don't they just get rid of teachers' unions? Oh, wait, I just read that one. Malik Foxon says, if I'm schooling my kid, they better be an exceptional case compared to the kids around them, or I'm doing them a disservice as a teacher and doubly so as a parent. I depends what you mean by exceptional. Don't have to be the most book read, but better be able to navigate society, the best in the room. Okay, yeah, there you go. Yeah. That's the important part. No, I don't have anything against Naked Gun. I just want the original Naked Gun if I'm going to watch it. The Nerdiest Geek says they ignore the obvious problem that not every town in the U.S. is diverse. I grew up in a small town that had 0 black people and 2 Asian families. Still live in an area that's 88% white. Almost never meet anybody that doesn't look like me. Same with my area. I mean, the town near me is like split in thirds, but the town I live in is like 95% white people. Matt the Bee says it's disappointing to see the amount of people who just go, I agree with the statement Black Lives Matter. I'm going to support the movement named after it, and never look into it at all. You know, their black child knowing both parents is one too many. Oh, Jesus. Crusader Saracen says, if your kids are learning to code, would you consider putting them in competitive student robotics like Vex Robotics? I was a world champion myself, public school, but some of the best performing teams in the Vex League were all homeschooled. Yeah, they actually have the opportunity to do that in our homeschool co-op. Crusader Saracen says Vex Robotics runs leagues competitions for elementary school all the way to high school. Blew me away to see the level which elementary school students could perform it. We did Running Man. I'm not doing Overlord. It fails the nudity test. Jacko? What's Jacko? Okay, on to super chats. Miku Evo Racing says, hey Nick, my local Total Wine has a Glenfiddich 50 year for $40,000. It better be good for that price. Well, it's not. It's not good for that price. The Sisterhood, 1988. Genghis Dong says, Nick, if you had to choose between saving a boomer or a feminist, who do you save? Boomers. Save a boomer because you can ridicule them and they'll feel bad about it. 2012 Jameson says, don't take dating advice from Ron Next Level Cuck. Belraven says, just want to let you know, smokers lost the case against the tobacco ban in South Africa, and now alcohol is banned as well. Jesus. Terrible. Devil's Rejects is good, but Phantasm is probably pretty good. What about Sliver? No one's talking about Sliver. Ulashed says, I figure if I donate enough fivers, them awful shorts will be paid for and burned. Hey, I'm wearing nice shorts today. Lil Poo Poo says, usually Chad and Tyrone trigger Ron. At least that's what I did to trigger him in DA Talk's stream. Near the end of that stream, that poor sap of a cuck. Some nobody says, hey, that $700 is a lot of horse lubricant. Damn. We did Killer Clowns the other day. Father Mosgus says, can confirm the school thing. Skipped a straight month of school and around 20 more atop that. Got straight A's on all my exams. Still at summer school, though. Friggin' dumb. Of course. Total Recall's not on Prime. What is this, Angry Baneling? Don't you ruin me. Don't you screw this up, Angry Baneling. It's unavailable in your watch location. It sounds awesome. I gotta stop doing this. Maybe we should watch The Klansman. I bet The Klansman has some gamer words in it. True SSJ Havoc says, sup rackets, it's my birthday. New Jersey talks about rising case of COVID. Working at a casino, it's hard to avoid this. They are threatening to close again. Damn. Rhinosaurus Rex says, Congress took a page out of Ron's book. Instead of I do not recall, it was I'm reclaiming my time. Their talk with Barr was an absolute circus. Yeah, I didn't watch that because I don't care. 2012 Jameson says, Texas Bar now doing training on implicit bias. No! All of them. All of them do it. Friday the 13th. Prince of Darkness isn't on Prime. I wish it was. I love that movie. Dan Platt says, by getting women into work, you increase the labor pool, which creates pressure on salary, which makes it even harder for single income families. Yes. Yes. I think that's something I mentioned on the stream with the employment lawyer. Funk Malfunction says, Italian families stick together. My family did a hell of a job. I feel the majority of Americans don't get nothing close to what I did. Let's just do Sliver. Let's just do Sliver. Ricky O isn't on there. Ben Frail says, watch party for Amistad when? Never. Funk Malfunction says, that's an effing canister shell with the launch part ripped out. JWCCG says, you should set up a separate highlights channel for your live streams. Your pop-off speeches would get tons of views if they were made into small vids. It's something I've thought of doing, actually. Actually, I thought of leaving them on this channel. Craig Labar says, catching up on double speed. Just realized you said what I said in Super Chat better. Thanks. Dove and Death says, remember the polls in 2016 were heavily Hillary to the point they said she was a 95% chance to win? I know Friday the 13th is on there. My Bloody Valentine isn't on there till August 1st. Let's do Friday the 13th. Let's do Friday the 13th. That's it. Final answer. Done. Dove and Death says, yeah. David Dalton says, do you think Biden ever debates Trump? Not if he wants to win. Kalinka Pavlova says, not saying that it's the cause, just wondering if you think the two-party system you have contributed to current polarizing insanity. Why not? Absolutely. The thing with the two-party system is it's just the most effective way to distribute the scarce resources of votes. It's just what's going to happen when you allow the system that we have. A two-party system was inevitable. There is no third party. And then the two parties also actively resist adding a legitimacy to a third party by creating rules that should be unconstitutional and should also be illegal. Also, the fact that the parties are the only political entities that can donate above the donation limit to a political candidate. We should think about that, right? Like, you can only give something like $2,500 per election cycle to a political candidate individually. Your company can only directly give $2,500 to a political candidate. I'm not talking about Citizens United, where you can do things on behalf of a candidate. That's different. I'm talking about giving money to a candidate to direct their own campaign. We're all limited, $2,500 or whatever. Maybe it's $2,600, $2,700, $3,000. I don't know. Somewhere in there. It's a tiny amount. The Republican Party can give an infinite number of money to a political candidate. The Democrat Party can give an infinite number of money to a political candidate. That should be unlawful. That should be unlawful. Period. There's no excuse for having organizations that are exempt from the spending limits that everyone else has to follow. That should be the first problem that we have with the two-party system. It would also go a long way towards defeating the parties. George Soros doesn't directly write a check to a specific candidate for that candidate's use. There's a difference. There's a difference. I should be able to spend $1 billion under Citizens United advocating for Donald Trump or for Joe Biden if I chose. So long as it's not directed by their campaign. As long as we have spending limits, which I'm opposed to in general, but as long as we have contribution limits to an individual candidate for their directed use, then the party should not be able to give. Why should they? What makes them different than any other organization? Okay. Sorry. Mario Carter 13 says, vote for Kamala to defund police. Oh, Kamala Harris. Super FM 101 says, to me, if he refuses to debate, it should be like any other competition. If you don't compete in debates, you forfeit. COVID, bro. Can't do it. Very scary. Finn Frog says, Karl Marx lived off his parents' money too. Yep. And he should. Cyril Foxity says, Ron should give you a neck massage with a remote. Bad Dragonite says, term limits for judges. Term limits for everybody. Mario Carter 13 says they disbar since they can't get him disbarred. Instance, thanks for the donation. Super Alfredo 64 says, I don't know if this chat has gotten rickrolled lemon style, but I need to hear it. Hit it, Nick. No. I just want to tell you how I'm breathing. Want to make my lungs work well. Never gonna give you up. Mario Carter 13 says, I like slick tools. Non-heterosexual therapist. Sither X says, truth, Nick. 2 hours of study is plenty for kids to learn the essentials. Me and my 3 siblings did it and are all at high literacy and math levels. Bad Dragonite says, chance of having Viva on to Trash Talk Legal Eagle. Viva's welcome on the show whatever time. He just usually doesn't do it late. That's another reason I want to add an early show. I would love to have him come on and show me the Legal Eagle case because I haven't been following it. I just know that it's garbage because he's doing it. Stealth Hispanic says, Nick has joined True E-Thought levels tonight. Spent several hours making jokes and playing with his tools. Damn it. 2012. Bounce. 2012 Jameson says, can businesses in Portland sue BLM for riots? No, BLM doesn't exist. They're not an entity. There is no organization. Mario Carter 13 says, deep dive slick tools inside your opportunity hoard. Kalinka Pavlova says, opportunity hoarding, doesn't that just prove they think non-whites are unsmart and that whites need to be unsmarter and more malleable? Yes. It's the soft racism of mitigated expectations or reduced expectations. That's what it is, and it's disgusting. Kalinka Pavlova says, YouTube wouldn't let me say dumb before. As Cybertaz says, Nick channeling DSP and playing with his tools online. Kuro Mythos says, they need at least one token black guy. It's the law. Kalinka says, we have literal Samoan kindergartens in my neighborhood. I wonder how hypocritical these leftists would feel if they found out about this. LMAO. Gawker's Death Rattle says, prudence, we literally live in a Monty Python skit. Warrex says, the public school system is all for bullying. Bullies don't get punished, but if you dare fight back against your bullies, you get punished. Yep. Meximan and Cheese says, the left equals, we want community policing. The right equals, that's cool. Let's do community homeschool while we're at it. The left, no, bigot. Exactly. Colin Archer says, Nick, keep preaching about public education. Children can't take 8 hours at school, nor do they need it. And the amount of homework is ridiculous. I used to work as a teacher, so I know for certain. Yes, it's terrifying. Evan Rogers says, hearing all this school stuff makes me wonder, since when do I live in the Soviet Union? Meximan and Cheese says, the argument is poor kids can't afford it. Isn't that like saying homeschooling is better, but we have to hold everyone down to be equal? Race to the bottom? Yes. Evan Rogers says, this country has a communist problem, and they are on the verge of absolute power. You can kiss your God-given rights goodbye unless you're willing to take up arms against these traitors. He also says, if Trump loses, this country is expletive. We will have our rights trampled. Be prepared to fight them for them, everyone. Angry Hydralist says, educational stream today. Thanks for streaming. My pleasure. Bad Vibe says, truck stop women for a prime list. All boxes checked. Truck stop women for a prime list. All boxes checked. Is that truck stop women? Hold on. Oh, is that a movie? Uh-oh. 1976. Looks exploity. It's only 13 plus. I don't know if I believe it. I don't know if I believe it. We'll do it a different. We're doing Friday the 13th part 1 tonight. That's what we're doing. Intimidator 108 says, love the Black Lagoon gift you got, Nick, from one of your viewers. Its opening theme song is one of my personal favorites, along with Outlaw Star and Cowboy Bebop. Evan Rogers says, how can I join the watch party? I heard Halloween. I'm in. It's not Halloween, unfortunately, but you can join it on Twitch. Twitch.com/Rekieta Law, or Twitch.tv. Shit, don't do Twitch.com. Twitch.tv/Rekieta Law. And then you can join the watch party if you have Amazon Prime. TLJ Screwjob says, if RBG dies, what will Sill's patron become? She won't die. It's impossible. She is the undying. Joseph Kerwin says, Another Man's Poison is on Prime. Never heard of that. Super Alfredo 64, Berserk, the Golden Age Arc movies aren't on Prime. I wish they were. We would do them in a heartbeat. I love those. Colfie 2A Wannabe Hunan Muhammad says, Hope Lost 2015 is on Prime. When prostitution becomes her life, she also finds a magic lamp. Her wishes, well, let's just say mankind has no chance. Phoenix Lord Azerman says, The Crazies is on Prime. Solid apocalypse film. And Bad Vibe says, my mentor told me once, don't hate someone for what others have. Work on your own and hope those above do better too. Keeps you humble, motivated, and respect others. And then finally, Crusader says, you need to get Razor Fist on your stream ASAP. Well, I sent him a DM on Twitter, and he hasn't responded yet. He probably hasn't seen it. I'm not criticizing him, mainly because we lost our DM contact from before, but I'm hoping he sees it and gets back to me soon. So, all right, guys, let's hit that outro. I'll see you on Twitch. All right? Have a good night. Peace. Peace.
Oh, he drinks a fair bit, but you realize that it just helps get his noggin jogging along. With his glass by his side and his kids asleep tight, we'll hear some law-splaining tonight. With his microphone muted, we'll laugh at this boomer until he explains it's all part of the plan. Watch his face become redder as he becomes meta, raging at idiots from Twitterland. From the white shores of Maine to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now. Oh, his lady is fair, and she handles herself with the grace of one who has borne many children. As the wife of a lawman, she makes sure that he has the time and the place to provide for them there. So pour out an art bag about more of Lafroig. The spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter as we hear law-splaining tonight. From the white shores of Nam to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we are now. Oh, the guests are all plentiful, from Doug T to Drexel. They bring their perspective and spice to the mix. But the reason we're here and the one that we cheer is the one who is showcasing us his career. So pour out an Ardbeg, a Baum, or a Lafroig. The spirits flow as the ones who'd get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea, post on Twitter as we hear Lost Painting tonight. From the wide shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the wrong better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now.